Yeah, right. It is. Right with that. Thank you everyone for coming. I am going to our meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is a meeting November 21st, and it's at 7 o'clock. Members of the commission, Jason Sortier. You say here, Jason?
Present.
Ella Myers.
Present.
Thank you. Dean Mason.
Present.
Kathy Borzica. Jim Porter. No. He's absent. And Frank Manfredi is absent. We do have a quorum, and I am going to Jason and for Frank or Jim, whatever. All right. So we have one. I'd like to ask for approval of the minutes of the October 17th, 2023 regular meeting and the October 24th, 2023 special meeting.
Make a motion.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I second that motion. This is Jason.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? No, any changes? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Ella? She has her. She's on mute.
Can you ask Ella? Ella, can you vote, please? You're on mute.
Yes, I approve.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Communications.
We do have communications. We have 3 communications. We have 2 from the town of Preston and 1 from the town of Montville. They are municipal referrals. Text amendment for the town of Preston. The first one is a temporary moratorium on short-term rentals. And then the second one for Preston is changing the regulations to address the family child care home, child care home requirements. The state statutes require that they be treated as single family homes in residential zones. Does anyone have any questions about either of these referrals from Preston or want to make any comments about them?
No.
Okay, the last referral is from the town of Montville. They have a referral about a text amendment to amend their zoning regulations for a moratorium on cannabis. Any questions or any comments? No. All right, thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is old business, and there. The next item is new business, and we have public hearings, and followed by contingent action. The first I will open the first public hearing, and I'll what's on the agenda.
Would you like to give some instructions on public hearings?
I was going to do it during each one, but I can do it in the beginning. All right. Okay, so we will on each of these 3 public hearings, we will have a procedure where we will allow the applicant to make their presentation. I will then allow the commission to ask any questions, and then after that, we will allow the public to give their input. With the first item on the public hearing, and I believe also the third item for public hearing, those are going to be tabled. So they will be continued. The hearings will be continued. So I would ask everyone during these public hearings to be courteous, and because they are being for those items that are being continued, we ask you to keep your comments to a minimum because we are going to hold a second hearing in December on the. All right,
I just want to record that the third item on the agenda it'll be continued, but it's a site development plan.
Oh,
It's not a public hearing.
okay,
So there will be no testimony from the public.
All right. Okay, so I will open the hearing to number 437, 145 Tapville Opham Road. That's 3 and 432 Canterbury Turnpike and 180 Waller Lane. Request for a proposed 12-lot subdivision with associated new road and dedicated open space. Property is an application of the Norwich Community Development Corporation, assessors map 25, lot 1, map 24, lot 1, and map 23, lot 1, lot 7, zone general commercial district and plan development design district. And this was received on 10/17/2023. Before we get into this, can I wanted to conduct a site walk on this, and we would like to do that on.
December 12th was the day that we had spoken to the consultant about doing that. Oh, you need to make a motion. You want a motion to open the public hearing first, and wants to know before you talk about it.
Oh, okay, we can have a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, who's making the motion? Are you making the motion? Okay.
Okay. Anyone?
Second that motion. This is Jason.
Okay, and we are opening the public hearing, and so now we're talking about this thing.
So in my memo, I mentioned a date of December 12th. That was the consultant's date that he could potentially do one. It was recommended, it's during the week, it's recommended to do that. It's a Tuesday, starting at like noon time, because it is quite a large site. And that is the date that he's put out.
Is that okay with everyone?
Jason and Ella,
I'm sorry, the microphone wasn't that good.
I'm sorry, December 12th, and the site walk is a Tuesday, and it would be at noon time. Do you think that you could be able to make that site walk?
Yes, I can make it.
I'm at work, so I would not be able to make that.
Okay, so we will have this for you, well, maybe, so that's it, we'll have the three of us.
And then the public gets invited.
Yeah.
to this.
Of course, anyone who is in the public that wants to attend that sidewalk, you are welcome to come.
What we'll do is,
have a
we'll set up,
location.
yes, we'll set up an agenda for that, the specific location. We'll talk to the applicants, team to find out where the best meeting places for parking for people that are, potentially driving there, and schedule that sidewalk. So there'll be noticed on that. But keep an eye out. If you have any questions, you can also call the planning department, ask for me, and I'll give you the details as well.
Okay, at this point in time, I'm going to ask the applicants to make their presentation. And please state your name and confirm your grant for the record. Kevin, there's an on switch there.
To be on. Good evening, everybody. Kevin Brown, President of NCDC 66 Franklin Street. Thank you for your time to review our subdivision plan this evening for Ockham Industrial Park. As a reminder, this is simply the next step in the permitting process for the industrial park and is not a uses or an individual site development plan conversation. Instead, tonight, we simply seek approval for the subdivision of those 384 acres into 12 buildable lots and 1 lot that'll be used as open space, each of which will subsequently come back to this body for an ultimate individual site development plan approval. I'm joined this evening by our professional team of Jeff Ward from Boulder Engineering, John Felice from Boundaries, Program Manager Henry Resnikoff, and Attorney Mark Block. Sorry if you guys couldn't hear me. Try to stay connected to this. Following my opening, Mr. Board will orient you to the design plan, and then Attorney Block will provide our responses to the municipal staff memo that the commission has been provided by the Director of Planning. As an overview, I'd first like to highlight our response to some of the neighborhood concerns that we have taken into account. There's a lot going on there. Tell me when you're ready. Good. Okay. First, let me just orient you to this map. I-395 is the road that runs along the southern boundary. Thank you. North is the top of the map. The arterial road is the darkened line that runs through essentially the center of this map. On the eastern boundary, you have the exit 18 interchange and Route 97 running north-south. And then on the west, further to the west, we have Canterbury Turnpike bisecting the three condominium lots. And then further to the west, you have Lawler Lane bisecting the last portion of the terrain. So moving from west, sorry about that, Dan, moving from west back to east, in light of a lot of the conversation that we've had, we have decided to reduce the development that is planned or projected for west of Lawler Lane, as you can see, to just one potential building, and then seed back 25 acres where the number 13 is as open space going forward. What that also does is it minimizes the amount of potential access to Lawler Lane. Previously, you might recall, and look, we've been at this for some time now, there have been a number of generations of this. You might remember there were roads accessing parking lots to buildings on both the east and west sides of Lawler Lane. There were two different access points west of Lawler Lane. Now the only access point, the potential crossover to Lot 9, and that potential crossover is not in the near nor the midterm planning. And until such time as demand would drive that development on Lot 9, that road would terminate with gated access only to be used by emergency vehicles. Moving back now to the east, mostly on the north side of the arterial road, lots 8, 7, 6, and 5 all carry with them deed restrictions and covenants with this submission. Even though those aren't a necessary requirement for a subdivision, we've provided that, and that will restrict the building heights on those lots. And then lastly, going further to the east at the interchange, you'll hear from Jeff Board here in a second, how we are signalizing all of the intersections that are currently not signalized at all for ingress and egress on and off of Interstate 395 to provide safer traffic patterns, certainly because of the volume that the business park will create, but also because currently today, there are no signals there right now. So I just want to reiterate before I hand it over for the site description and the responses to the memo, that this is about subdividing to create buildable lots, not trying to determine yet what those buildable lots will have. And that those buildable lots are being fed by this road that we've created that ensures restricted access to the local, what are called by traffic professionals, collector roads. Lawler Lane, Canterbury Turnpike. And then finally, just a reminder that we do acknowledge the need to go back before the Inland Wetlands Commission on December 7th because of the change to the Lawler Lane terminus, because of the sightline requirements that we have to meet. So we recognize that that approval is essentially a review, or that review is to approve that minor modification of our wetlands permit that was issued in June of last year. We also finally understand that tonight, as you said, Madam Chairwoman, CCP will not make a decision this evening. So we look forward to the discussion and will be responsive to any questions or concerns that you might have. Thank you, and I'll be followed by Jeff.
Thank you, Kevin. For the record, my name is Jeff Ford, professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Bowler Engineering. We're located at 65 McSal Road in West Hartford, Connecticut. What you're seeing on the screen here, north is to the top of the page, as Kevin had alluded to, Route 97 to the east, Lawler Lane all the way to the west. And we've worked over the last year or so, working with engineering as we went through the inland wetlands process to establish the proposed roadway design network. So what we are proposing, it's 7,700 linear feet of road spanning east to west, bisected by Canterbury Turnpike. It's important to note that the construction of the road itself, the plan is anticipated to be broken into 3 phases. First phase being starting at Route 97 on the east, up to the roundabout at Canterbury Turnpike. The second phase is anticipated to go to the west of Canterbury Turnpike to cover up to Building 7 and 11's driveways, so about halfway up, right about where Dan's cursor is there. And then the remainder would be under phase 3. In working through that inland wetlands process with the town and the city engineer, We came up with an established 11-foot travel lanes. We have 4-foot shoulders. We have 3-foot wide gravel strips, curbless in most spots to perform as a stormwater best management practice. And then on the north side of the road, for the majority of the roadway, we have a 10-foot permeable multi-use trail that runs along that northern side of the road there. It's important to note on signage and street signage that will be consistent with section 3.11.5.3. A supplemental signage description was provided indicating the general position, size, and appearance of these signs in question. From a lighting standpoint, the lights themselves will be provided by NPU. The lights are dark sky compliant. They're full cutoff LED fixtures consistent with section 3.11.55 of the regulations. And then the big thing to note from a drainage standpoint, whenever we do a design like this, we're required to do what's called a pre and post analysis. So existing drainage patterns, existing watersheds, compare that to a post development scenario. And essentially what we're required to do is comply with the 2004 Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual. So what that is you have to have a reduction in all your storm events, and then treat water quality throughout the duration. So to put it in simple terms, it's as if after post-construction, it'll be as if it's out there today, where we're treating, mitigating that water, and then putting it back to exactly where it's going into the wetland and water courses now. As far as utilities, all the utilities will be subsurface. They will navigate the road out to Route 97, and all of that has been coordinated with NPU. And then the erosion and sediment control. Very importantly, that will comply with the 2002 Connecticut Erosion and Sediment Control Guidelines. The measures that we implemented on our design plans will be in place throughout the duration of construction. Those include silt fences, inlet protection, and those are inspected on a weekly basis or after any significant rain event. And then any corrective measures that need to be made to that silt fence would be recommended and implemented by the contractor at the time of construction. In closing, the plans have been designed to comply with the subdivision regulations, section 1926.2. Those regulations have been met. And in addition to what I testified to, the 2004 Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual and the 2002 Erosion Sediment Control Guidelines have been met as well. With that, I'll turn it over to Mark, and I'll be happy to answer questions later on in the presentation.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Mark Block. I'm counsel to Norwich Community Development Corporation. And I'm here this evening to address the memo generated by staff dated November 7, 2023. My written responses have been provided to the commission, and all members should have copies of those. My references will be to the paragraph numbers of the memo. Some of these have been addressed by Mr. Board, and I'll make that note. Some of them don't apply. But going from item number 1 on down, item number 1 relates to the application itself. There's no comment that's necessary this evening. Number 2 has to do with notice to the abutting owners. Notice was mailed. Proof of mailing has been provided to CCP, and you should have that. That's been addressed. Item number 3 has to do with any municipal notices that have been received. That's not our item, that's a commission item. No comment is necessary on that. Item number 4 has to do with the traffic report. We have supplied a copy of the traffic report to the commission, and I'm making no further comment on that. None is required. Signage has been addressed by Mr. Board. There will be freestanding signage and signage for the open space, and we'll work with staff on the appropriate signage, and that was item number 5. Item number 6 has to do with street trees, which will be shown on the final set of plans, and we believe that the street trees have already been addressed. So there's no further comment that's necessary on that. Number 7 has to do with the sidewalk, which you've all elected to have at noon on December the 12th, with the location for the meeting at sidewalk to be determined. Item number 8 has to do with discussions of the State Historic Preservation Office. And we will follow the recommendations of SHPO, and any notes that have to be added to the plans will be added. Item number 9 has to do with the Natural Diversity Database. We will follow the deep recommendations, in particular regarding any species that happens to be on the site, and appropriate notes will be reflected on the plan set. Item number 10, in regards to the open space. The open space will be initially managed by Norwich Community Development Corporation. We will conduct discussions with Land Trust to see if we can turn over this open space to the Land Trust. And we will also address the need for passive recreation as part of the open space. Item number 11 in regards to the boundary survey, which has been provided. No further comment is necessary on that. Regards to the revisions to the plan set and compliance with SR 19-26-2, that has been addressed by Mr. Board, and no further comments necessary on that. As regards item number 13, which is passive solar, I can represent that passive solar was considered in the layout of this subdivision and will be further addressed as individual site plans may be provided to the commission as the lots are developed. Item number 14, regards to buffers, will be added. Any required buffers will be added to the plans. Deed restrictions, which is item number 15, I can represent to the commission that there will be deed restrictions as mentioned by Mr. Board to lots 6, 7, 8, and 9. Restrictions will provide for a height limitation of 75 feet. And those are the lots that are located on the north side of the arterial road. Lot number 5 will have a building height limit of 30 feet. And those restrictions will be filed on the land records, and each lot conveyed will refer to those restrictions, and the lots will be bound by them. Item number 16 concerns waivers. We have requested, and on file with the commission is a request for 3 waivers. Addressed and requested in a letter to the commission dated September 18, 2023, and as part of the record of these proceedings. The 3 waivers that were requested are a waiver to the road pavement width, a waiver to curbs and gutters, and a waiver regarding sidewalks to be on one side of the road only. As part of your file, you should have a letter from the Department of Public Works, which says we recommend approval of the waiver request based on the following. As to the road pavement width, the requested reduction of pavement is in keeping with current low impact density design standards that are intended to reduce impervious surfaces wherever possible while maintaining functionality of the roadway. The letter from Public Works goes on to say, as to curbs and gutters, it says that the plan for curbs and gutters is also in keeping with low impact density development design standards that are intended to reduce concentrated flows and point discharges. In regards to sidewalks, it is stated that the multi-use trail is an acceptable alternative to the required sidewalks on both sides of the proposed road and provides the added benefit of physical separation using guide rails of the pedestrians and bicycle traffic from the vehicular traffic. I would note that the subdivision regulation section 19-27.1 reads that the commission may, on a report from the Director of Public Works which has been filed and is part of the record, waives certain design standards for any proposed road improvements depending upon site condition. Such waivers shall be granted by a 3/4 vote of the commission members in certain cases as cited in the regulations. In accordance with state statute, Connecticut General Statutes 8-26A gives the commission the power to waive certain aspects of the subdivision regulations, provided the regulations shall specify the conditions under which a waiver may be considered, and shall provide that no waiver shall be granted that would have a significant adverse effect on adjacent property or the public health and safety. We would submit that the reasons cited by the Department of Public Works satisfies one requirement of the statute 8-26A, and further, that the NCDC property that's subject of this application is the only property that may be affected by these waivers, because they affect the arterial roadway which bisects the property, and there's no adjacent property which would be affected or could be affected by these waivers. On to item 17, that concerns utilities, and underground utilities, as stated by Mr. Board, are being provided. Item number 18 has to do with street signs that were also addressed by Mr. Board, and we will work with the city engineer regarding specification locations for all street signs. Item 19, those items that are listed in item 19 will be provided on the revised plan set. Item 20, which concerns silt fencing and the limits of clearing, I believe that's been addressed by Mr. Board, but the limits of clearing are limited, as shown, and will be limited by the silt fences. Item 21. All these plans have been supplied by digital file. Any revisions will be provided by digital file. Items 22, 23, and 24 do not need our addressing. These are regard to signature blocks and the like that will be on the final plan set. I would only reiterate what Mr. Brown said, that this application is further before the Wetlands Commission, and approval of this application for subdivision is subject to receipt of the decision of the Wetlands Commission. And with that, I will turn this over to Commissioner.
So thank you for going over my memo. I appreciate it. At this point, you've satisfactorily answered my questions. I am looking for revised plans before our next meeting in December, so that we can look to make sure all those things are checked off. The only comment that I have is regarding the boundary survey. If Mr. Scalise could give me the copy that's signed, I just don't have a signed signature on yours. So we do have that, but it is not signed.
Okay, and when is the Wetlands Commission now? December 7th, and that's, do you know, where they're at with that? Is that their first meeting or?
No, open.
That night, and then they have to wait 30 days. Is that correct? No, we're not.
No, we believe that in a perfect world, we would have a decision on December 7th. It's a minor modification to an existing permit.
To an existing permit?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
If we're seeking modifications to permit that was approved last year,
oh, okay.
all of the modifications solely for additional clearing or site plan.
Oh,
To convenience.
I ask a question of the staff before I open it up to the public. For the sidewalk, would it be possible that, how many sheets are the?
I think it's 52 sheets, I think it is.
Is there any summary sheets? Are there summary sheets?
There's like this, or what do you particularly looking for?
Because I would like to see the subdivision, I mean,
Subdivision,
first of all, I mean,
with
this
this
is-
couple on.
I
yeah,
think,
with the lot lines and utilities and sidewalk, the sidewalk or the motorist path.
we would be prepared to, we could do packets of 11x17s that have blow-ups of each of these and then one overall map to hand
Yeah,
out to
that
anyone.
would be good, so we could have those before our sidewalk, so if our commission member can look at it. I have to say, this is like the largest thing that has come into our community. We really need to be vigilant on this topic.
You know, I think that if you can give us a time frame for ahead of time that you
Yeah.
want it, you know, just
Yeah.
because I know the holidays and everything kind of crazy right now, but if you could get that to us as soon as possible, then I can get it to the commission members, and we can also put it up on a remote meetings folder. I don't know if anyone looked at that, but it's the planning department on the city's website. Left-hand side, it says remote meetings. You go to the thing, and all this information for each application's in there. So that's where you will find that too, so that you can have it there, because I don't know how many copies that you would need, so.
Yeah,
I
we'll get
want
it to you, we'll get it to you well in advance of that. So we'll get it by next Friday, so you have it well in advance of the 12th meeting.
And that to all of us.
And we'll print some up in the office too to bring along.
And then could we also have your comments and Attorney Black's comments?
Yep.
Is there, now you said there's a traffic report?
Yes, the traffic report was just, it's a pretty thick traffic report,
Is there
correct?
an executive summary?
Not an executive summary. So I know that it was looked at by, I think Brian looked at it, Brian Long, but I have not, I don't have a copy in this file right now.
We'll have one.
Can I ask,
We'll have one.
in connection with my comments, what I supplied to your office is just really one word bullet points? Is that all you want, or do you want me to?
I would like to.
And I can expound on that.
Yeah, I would like an executive summary. of
Okay.
the-
We can do
Yeah,
that. When,
please.
and what date do you need that by?
Can it be before the commission's meeting in December, if we want it before
I want it before, well, I don't, it doesn't need to be before the
the,
site.
but before the.
I would like it before the sidewalk, actually.
Before the sidewalk?
Well,
Yeah, just because if that's possible.
because the sidewalk is 1 week before the meeting, so that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
And it's 1 week before. so that's appropriate.
Yeah, that's fine, and then, so, also in,
Would you agree to that?
what was that?
You got them on the 5th, the week ahead. Yes. The Tuesday before.
Is that,
Oh, that's fine, no, that's fine.
to the applicant, Mark and, the bowler team, could you provide that information by December 5th? That would be a week before the site walk. Would that be sufficient, or is that too soon?
I'll work with Mr. Ward. We'll do our best to get everything to you by December.
Okay, and we can, I mean, I can pick mine up, and if any of the other commission members want to pick them up, they can do that, or you can just mail it to them. All right, that would be great.
If you provide us with addresses you want us to
No,
expedite.
send it to our office, then I can control that. Thank you.
Very good.
And there is a map that has zoning on it.
Correct.
All right?
Yes.
Yes.
I want to see that.
Just one thing, the executive summary, was that directly related just to the traffic study?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
and, yeah, that's fine. That's all. Okay, okay, I'm sorry for the public.
Before you go up to public, I did have 2 letters that were received in to enter into the record, but because this public hearing is going to be continued, and then we'll give opportunity for the commission members to read it, they'll both be put up on our page in the remote meetings, and we'll be also email them to the commission members. That way they don't need to get particularly read into the record, and one of them sort of has a chart and makes it a little bit harder to read anyway. So I really want it to be available to people to look at before the next meeting. So I'm not going to read the 2 that were received today. One was from Mark T. Perkins, 81 Lawler Lane, and the other was from Mary A. Tate. I think it's Tate, Tague, dated November 21st. So those will go up onto our remote meetings, and I'll email you separately so you can read them. Next meeting.
Yeah, and any other comments that come in by the public, if you could email them to us, that would be great.
Yep, we can do that, and then they don't have to be read out loud, and it prevents, it helps things move along, and the intention is better there.
All right, so at this point, any other commission members have any questions? Or want any additional information or anything else?
Not at the moment.
All set? Okay. Then I open this up to the public.
And have a list you want to call them.
Oh, sure. Can do that.
It doesn't mean you can't speak out after, you know, if you're on the list, it just helps you to organize. Yes, hold on.
There's people online.
Yeah.
So if you ask people online, that you will raise them, but then we'll get to them after.
Okay, yeah, that one, it's really just really. Okay, anyone who is online, please raise your hand after the public here speaks and we will call you. Okay? All right, and I'm gonna ask you, because this is going to be continued, I'm going to ask you to try to keep your comment to a minimum. Of course, everything you have to say is important to us, but we can hear this again at the next meeting. And please try not to be repetitive. All right. So I'm gonna first call Sue Jacobson. We have a 256 Laurel Lane, and please go to the podium.
Susan Jacobson, 256 Laurel Lane. I appreciate everybody being here, everybody taking the time out this busy week. And my concerns are pretty much the same as they have always been. I'm concerned about safety. I'm concerned with the traffic. I know I'm really anxious to see the executive summary of the traffic report. That would be wonderful to be able to read. So my concerns would be putting in the road and not knowing what we're putting there, not knowing who's going to come and what are we going to do, and the ramifications of this, what it could be coming down the line. Like, there was a comment, I don't want to say who made the comment, but the person who was here knows who made the comment. The 97 would eventually be 4 lanes, and that is a nightmare to think about. And we had a meeting and Kathy Austin went, and she made a comment about, to me, I don't know who else heard it, but she made a comment about the developed subdivision that's going in on Scotland Road and how much that's damaging the character of the neighborhood. And I looked at it and I said, well, that's what's doing to our neighborhood. We're losing the character of our neighborhood. You're putting what used to be agricultural, these industrial buildings that, when they've lowered the size of the building, they lowered it to 75 feet. I mean, that's incredible. That's going to be out in back of my house, 75 feet with 250,000 square feet. So that just blows my mind. And just taking care of it. Who's going to take care of everything? Is it going to come back on us? And the access road goes in and no one buys the property? Those are my concerns, as well as the safety. Thank you.
And keep in mind that really, we have not been that involved with this until this point in time. Okay, so you may think you're being competitive, but we haven't heard it yet. Okay. Okay, so the next one is Frederick Browning. And he's 671 Southland Road.
First of all, what a report, 55 pages of maps, 25 separate items all posted up. That's a lot to get through. So if I make a mistake when I'm talking, sorry, I've already been reading for 4 or 5 hours. Okay, so I think one of the big things is I'm glad to see you folks are concerned about traffic. I mean, we are greatly concerned about traffic in terms of its movement up and down Canterbury Turnpike, Lower Lane. I am very, very happy for there to be a gate there. Now, section number 9 is developed. just like our current industrial park. It's not a huge sacrifice. Okay, so I would be very happy to see that in because they sometimes lock the gate off parts of the industrial park near the baseball stadium. Also, I think in terms, I'm glad we're thinking in terms of height on various buildings. There's a lot of impact, particularly on Lower Canterbury Turnpike, in terms of, building 5 and building 6. I'm glad to hear that building 5 will be limited to 30 feet. I think 6, which is on Old Canterbury Turnpike, which is also a residential neighborhood, is a little different than, say, some of the other buildings like 11 or 12, which are pulled way back from areas where people live. But 6 is right along Canterbury Turnpike, and that's going to be a major impact as well. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the map, and my notes were there was the lot I was concerned about was 6. Also, 75 feet is not negligible. When we put up drones earlier this year, this being a group of neighbors, we got up over the treetops. So we were watching the video as the drones soared up behind the Latter-day Saints Church. And yep, we're over the treetops at 75 feet. So not negligible. I think if some of these buildings were limited down to 50, I think we would have much less of an argument. Okay, 50 doesn't sound like a lot, but it doesn't sound like a big compromise. But I think for us it's significant because it really does limit the impact on our neighborhoods. We will already be impacted by the traffic. I hate to think about the noise and the construction and the blasting that is probably going to take place as this road is being built. So we're already in for an impact of possibly a year, several years. So we're, the residents of the area are already going to pay. And by that, I mean, we're already going to have to make sacrifices. Last 2 things. The traditional, I would fully support a traditional boundary, meaning from a residential property line to the first piece of asphalt or building at 150 feet. A lot of what's going to go in here is probably going to be at distribution centers. There's going to be a lot of driving. There's going to be a lot of moving around. That would make things a lot more livable. I think contouring some of the sites, like I look at site 10 over there, and it's literally jogging the parking lot, possibly jogs right around the corner of somebody's property, almost wraps around it. If that if that particular factory was contoured, made more block-like and moved closer up to the arterial road, you would not be impacting the 3 houses on that road in that area. I mean, so I'm speaking about number 10, I'm sorry, red 10.
So all of what's shown on here, I just have to ask you this. So all of these buildings shown on there are not actually what's going to be built.
That would be correct. This is when you do a subdivision, you have to show a footprint of a potential building and size that could fit there, and potentially show parking that would be compliant and where that would go. And that is what it's showing. It's showing footprints of potential buildings, but we have no potential uses, and you don't know when someone, even with a residential subdivision, it shows the footprint of a lot. You don't know what that house is actually going to be built, and is it going to be skewed a different way? Is it going to be a bigger footprint? So
Is it going to be small? It could be
a lot smaller. Same thing with heights, the discussion of heights at this point, because the subdivision doesn't talk about heights because those come on later on, individual site plans, so we can look at what those are.
But didn't you say that they were going to put a
So-
restriction?
So I think the applicant, you can get back and ask the applicant about, they did want to propose in our regulations, it talks about for subdivisions that if you any kind of deed restrictions or any kind of encumbrances, you're supposed to share that with us. And so that's a requirement for them to share with us. And they said, yes, we are going to put deed restrictions on here, and they've shared those. Do you want to answer that question that Kathy has about the deed restrictions? That you're proposing.
We did actually, but to reiterate, all of the lots north of the arterial road had deed restrictions on building height with, and I even have to look, 6, 7, and 8 are limited to 75 feet, and building 5 is limited to 30 feet. That's what's in
but it is not our deed restrictions.
It's there, so the zoning regulations have, and I can't off the top of my head tell you what they are for each of those zones. But we'll come back to this in a second. I'm answering your question, Kelly, as the chairman, is that the zoning regulations, when you come in with a site plan and you show us a proposed building, you have to meet what those regulations are.
Yeah.
So even though they're sharing this information, it's somewhat irrelevant at that point.
Right. Right, and that, right, that's not in our regulations.
There you go.
Okay.
I just want to highlight, and it's really probably immaterial
Can
to,
you just state your name for the record, so when we do this?
I'm sorry.
the-
Kevin Brown again from NCDC, 66 Franklin Street. Look, let's speak openly here. These deed restrictions are a net result of all of the conversations that we've had with the community. Let's remember that in the zoning is on there, although it's kind of hard to see it in this form. The current zoning allows for 105 feet. And show faith with the neighbors that we understand their concerns about building height, while at the same time allowing us the ability to market this property for actual development that might be impactful from a grand revenue standpoint. We put restrictions on at 75 feet. That doesn't mean, though, as Deanna has already mentioned, that ultimately when the site plan comes back for 6 or 7 or 8, that the building is 40 feet tall and 75,000 square feet. But we don't know yet at this point, nor are we supposed to know or provide. We're only providing the limits of the max buildable space.
And I would also ask one last question, I'm sorry. These lots are proposed with square acreage and whatever, but it doesn't preclude the possibility of them doing a property line adjustment, is that correct?
That would be correct if somebody into the future wanted to buy 2 lots. Is that what you're saying?
No, they could adjust the property, they could buy 2 lots, but they could also make lot number 11 and 12, you could cut half of 12 and put that to 11. I mean, because our regulations allow for a property line adjustments, is that correct?
And you're saying after, so just to clarify in my head, you're talking about after subdivision is filed,
Right.
that someone could do a lot line.
Yes,
So, yes, so I think we could explain to the public what that is. So what the chairman is asking tonight is when you have a subdivision, if there's enough acreage in a subdivision of lots, you could with your neighbor, if you have enough acreage and they had enough, adjust your lot line, so that changes that boundary line, that's what she's asking, and is there ability to do that? It would depend, I think there are large lots, so likely, but I can't tell you without looking at some.
I'm sorry, Frederick, go back to your.
I'll just finish quickly because I know the attorney wants to speak. I think the neighbors want written protections. This is our life. These are our houses. And once this property is built, we may not be able to get rid of these houses in the same way. We are, in fact, furthermore, I have the intention of moving to another town. So this is the more written protections we get, the better. Then last of all, I just want to point out that the open space area of 25 acres is currently at least half of it is underwater. It's a beaver lake, pretty much. Thank you.
Okay, the next person on the list is Dan Watson from 507 Canterbury Turnpike.
Good evening. My comments are kind of directed towards the intersection here where the Park Road and Canterbury Turnpike meet. And I'm just concerned about the safety of the travel on that road. I mean, not just the neighbors, but anybody coming down Canterbury Turnpike approaching that. Well, when I looked at the plan, I can see, it takes about a little over 300 feet of reconstruction in that area on Canterbury Turnpike, just, to fit everything in. But I didn't see on the plan a profile through that area that shows, how that work is going to tie in with the existing road there. And I know there's some contour lines, but what I meant was with a profile through there, you could use that to determine what the vertical sight distance is going to be, and how the people coming from the north to the south are going to be able to view this intersection and use it safely, probably especially at night. I know there'll probably be signage and stuff, but the road is signed for 30 miles an hour too, and nobody drives 30 miles an hour, so I just want to be able to have full, safe view of that proposed roundabout area, and that's basically my comment, just to make sure you haven't already done it to review that for the approaching traffic. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, the next person is Holly Watson, and she's from Tribal Setting in their as well.
Hi, I'm Holly Watson from 507 Canterbury Turnpike, where that is. I don't like this whole entire thing, but my most concern is that roundabout, because if you live on Canterbury Turnpike and you go up that big hill, which I call the roller coaster hill, because especially in the winter, you slide down that hill. So if you're trying to get up that hill, you get stuck sometimes. I've driven up there, got stuck. And now if you have a roundabout, and if you're coming down and you slide, because sometimes there's water that goes right over the bridge and right in there that just kind of gets all ice. So when you go and you're trying to come down, you slide, and I almost landed in the woods last 2 winters ago because it gets very icy. So I'm concerned about sliding into the roundabout, having a car accident and stuff. So if you need to put something there, I would suggest to put a traffic light. So then then you can stop at the bottom of the hill, but be able to see that traffic light, so you're not being stopped halfway up that hill or on part of the top to try, and then you end up getting stuck or sliding back down. That's my biggest concern right there, especially since we travel. And right now I work, I have to leave the house at 3 o'clock in the morning, and most of the time the snowplows aren't out there. So if you have that roundabout, I'm gonna be really stuck. So at least I'm having to accelerate, get up that hill in the winter. And I don't want to have to really stop at the top of the hill. So that's my biggest concern.
The next one is Robert Rhodes. Robert Rhodes from 89 Wallow Lane.
Schroeder. Not Rhodes.
Roller, I'm sorry. It's like
I might just. Can I just step up to the map for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this is my main concern. I live on Lawler Lane down this way. This has been my major concern the whole time. It's major entrance off of Lawler Lane, which is a narrow 2-lane country road. Man, we can't hear him. Oh,
It's a narrow 2-lane country road, Lawler Lane. Can you hear me now? Good.
Sure.
So, in the past, whenever this was brought up, what we heard was there are no plans for any entrance off of Lawler Lane at the present. So I haven't got involved too much because I was waiting for this. And here it is, 2 days before Thanksgiving. We get a map and it shows a major entrance on Lawler Lane. And people are speaking about this as though it was a done deal. Now, this is where it hits Lawler Lane. It looks like a minor curve. This is a blind curve. There's also a blind hill coming up here. This lot 9 is bordering on a huge beaver pond, which has become a stopping point for migratory birds. The street, if you go further down Lawler Lane, because these are going to be distribution centers and whatnot, I expect to see trucks, semi-trucks coming down Lawler Lane
on a narrow road. People park their cars in front of their houses on that road. There's gonna be no option except to widen that road. There're gonna have to be some widening of the roads on Scotland Road. If you're gonna have, if these are gonna be industrial plots, not business plots, there are gonna be people driving to and from work. They're gonna use this as a major entrance. You come up Scotland Road from the city of Norwich, you come up Lawler Lane to get into your place of work. You're not gonna be coming from the highway or 97, even though there will be. I'm not saying there's no problem down there either. But if they widen that road, as I remember from a previous iteration of this property up there, the city easement, from what I understand, is on the homeowner's side, not on the fields across the street. So they will widen, we live on 1/4-acre lots on an old farm subdivision. They will be widening that road, taking our 30 feet to the front door down to 20 feet. And, you know, this is just sweeping through as though, you know, we're providing you with all this information. You're not providing us with any information. And I feel like we're being backdoored on this whole thing. There really has been no discussion in the paper, no serious discussion. And these facts dribble out through the back door, and you got to hear about it from somebody who's got a channel to the city hall somehow, and somebody's been tipped off that, you know, here are the plans. There's like 40 pages of plans. If you look at it, if you look at pages, plans C212, C405, and C601 and C606. These plans have been carefully drawn out by engineering firms to provide a major entrance from Lawler Lane and from the other side. Originally, I was hearing cul-de-sac in and out, main access from 97 highway. It's not going to be that. It's going to be these small neighborhoods, which are old farm developments, inundated with semi-trailer trucks, people going to and from work. It's going to be a mess. And I don't like the way it's being slid through the back door like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. At this point in time, I'm not going to ask for back and forth with the applicant. At the end, you can address anything you would like to address. All right.
I think that's fair. So the applicant does have an opportunity at the end, after this comment, to address all these comments that are being said.
Okay, the next person is Edie Piscatelli, 44 Wales Road.
Hi, as you said, my name is Edie Piscatelli. I live at 44 Wales Road, and I'm going to be mostly impacted, I believe, by building number 9. What? So I find it interesting that I wasn't even aware that the zoning had changed until I received my first registered letter in regards to the first proposal for the business park north. The zoning changed back in, I guess, 2015. You went ahead and you did a spot zoning. You took some farmland and you decided you were going to make it PDD without any of us really knowing, because I didn't get a registered letter then. So I was a little upset, and I'm delving into this more and more. I'm learning more and more about it. But my concerns for this are such that, you know, I was looking at things, and I'm trying to educate myself as best I can, but I look at things like tree level, you know, things, buffers to hide things and that kind of stuff. And it would take like 100-foot ponderosa pine to hide these things. We're not talking about oaks, maples, the common stuff that we have around here that takes
hundred years to mature as it is, we're talking about buildings that you're gonna see no matter what they put up in front of it, no matter what they put behind your house. We're not gonna be able to hide these things. And so that's a great concern, especially with these major buildings being right behind my house. When the leaves fall off the trees in the winter, you can see Lawler Lane. So I will be able to see every building that's back there. I'll be able to hear every noise that comes from manufacturing firms or shipping trucks or constant. I mean, even if these aren't going to be developed all at once, that means ongoing construction for years. And when you turn around and you say, well, you know, we don't know what's going in there. Well, we don't, and that's the problem. I've read articles that say you've had concurrence letter, but not one company, not one. We keep hearing how there are people who want to come in and take up the space, but who are all these people clamoring to get to Norwich, Connecticut, in the back roads of this area that want to come and build all these buildings? I'd like to know who. I'm upset that we're not doing more, and I'm very nervous, I don't like public speaking. I'm upset that we're not doing more to help our own community. Things with like, why didn't we build things like, you know, more elderly housing or stuff that we need, elderly daycare, more childhood daycare, all kinds of stuff that this city needs that we are sadly lacking in. None of that is ever addressed in this. It's all this commercial stuff. We already have an industrial park that has failed. We're gonna clear down what little bit of open space we have, and we're just gonna build another one because it's cheaper. I get that. It's cheaper to build new than it is to rebuild. But what is the city doing to rebuild? You can't just keep stripping the city and leaving these empty, dilapidated buildings all over the place because you're just gonna keep losing people. Nobody wants to come.
I hate to interrupt you. This is about the subdivision of land, and I understand that you're concerned that with the previous industrial park, but right now, what is?
Well, he just said that that building has a 75-foot limit on it. That's over 3 stories. Do you have any idea what a 3-story building looks like next to a house?
You don't want to show us because you have to, if you give us something, you have to actually give it to us.
Oh, then I'll mail it to you. I'll mail it to you.
But you don't want to give your phone up.
Because I looked at this stuff. I looked at actual comparisons from studies that show when you put a 3-story building as like 50 feet away or 100 feet away from a 2-story building, it shows how much you can actually see it. There is no hiding these magnificent large buildings they're talking about. We're not just talking about office buildings that might be 2 stories high. We're talking about major ongoing manufacturing firms with constant noise, constant, you know, not just with trucks, but with deliveries and all kinds of other stuff. You're talking about literally, you changed this whole thing and you did it without a notice. And I think that that's really upsetting. But again, it wasn't you guys. Maybe you weren't even sitting there at that time in 2015. Maybe it was somebody else. But I'm starting to pay a lot more attention to my city government than I ever did before, because this was wrong, that this came through like this.
All right.
And I've asked this committee before about data centers. I know in the original proposal,
Right.
everybody keeps saying no, but is that on the table or is it not on the table?
We're not talking about any uses for any of these properties at this point in time. It's just the subdivision.
But if we approve this plan, then isn't he free to put in what he wants?
Well, whatever in the regulations,
What?
whatever is in the zoning regulations.
So if this gets approved for this 12-lot subsection, does every building that is going to be in there or is proposed to go in there, does it have to go back to a referendum like this where we all
It's not
vote on
a
it?
referendum. It comes back to the planning and zoning commission or the commission on the city plan for review and approval.
Just you, not us. Correct?
No,
Well, it depends, because if they use, I'm gonna jump in here if you don't mind from a planner standpoint, is in the use tables and the zoning regulations, it tells you what uses they are and what the process is allowed for those uses. So this commission hears site plans and they hear special permits and they hear subdivisions. So a site plan does not have a public hearing. So if a use falls under a site plan use, the commission still has to review it. They have to make sure everything is done on it, but it's not a public hearing. If it's a special permit use, which many uses are in commercial zones and PDD zones, then it comes back to the commission. And again, it's a public hearing for that specific site that shows that exact building, the height, everything about it, its landscaping, its number of parking, everything that you could.
So then let me be clear, the current PDD restrictions that you guys created in 2015, prior to him making the adjustments on the right-hand side, That's the restrictions for this building space that they purchased, correct? You're not giving any variances, you're not giving any waivers, you're not giving any special inclinations for them to do what they want. They have to stick within that boundary of what's stipulated in every single one of those little things.
What's in the zoning regulations.
Yes, it's a printout of your zoning regulations
I would like to
stipulating
just
what can
clarify
be
that.
done without permission and what has to keep coming back.
I'd
for
like to
review.
clarify that the city council is the zoning authority and they are actually the entity that approved the zoning regulations. So it was not this board. We just review site plan subdivisions, special permits, special exceptions, special permits.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're not giving him a clean slate to build whatever the heck he wants in there with.
No, every so in the regulations right now, any building that's over 5,000 square feet has to go to the commission. So it has to go to this board,
Okay,
any building over
that's-
5,000 square feet.
That's horizontal, 5,000 square feet. What about height wise?
Well, that includes height.
So what it is
each story.
So I guess what I clarify is, it doesn't trigger it to come to the commission because of the height, but when it triggers it because of the use and the size of the building, it comes. And at that time when it comes, they have to show us that they meet the zoning regulations. They have to meet those requirements. But I want to further add that what it sounds like the applicant is trying to do is say on the record to the public, even if the zoning allows for higher later on, we're willing in our deed restrictions, like some deed restrictions in a neighborhood might say, you can't have 3-car garage, or you can't have whatever, you can't do certain things. What they're saying is on their proposed subdivision, they are going to stipulate things to like safety nets. So the commission could allow for potentially higher the regulations, but not if their own deed restrictions restrict it more. Does that make sense?
I understand that. So then I want to be clear. What he's asking for tonight is another revision of the original existing PGD regulations, correct?
No.
It's a subdivision of the entire parcel into separate lots, and that's all. And to construct the road and all the infrastructure that goes along.
It's not about particular uses or particular heights of
I'm
buildings
not
or
going to
anything.
take the time away from the other people that want to speak, but I will be visiting City Hall because I wanted to explain to me in detail what that means when these guys from NCDC decide they're going to start bringing in buildings, how much latitude you're giving them to just erect buildings that are over 75 feet tall and stuff, or even 75 feet tall.
They have to come to the commission if any building is over 5,000 square feet, or if it's a site plan or special permit use, which in a commercial zone, almost everything is. So each application, each development of each lot would have to come back here and go through the parking, the height of the building, the architecture, everything, like handicap accessibility, all of that, and every single one. So in theory, 12 times.
So in theory, tonight, you're only giving them permission to start preparing the site.
No, to construct the infrastructure and not do site work for individual lots, just the infrastructure and
Rough site.
Just the road.
Yeah, just for the road.
Putting in
Just
the
for
road and
right,
outside.
right, that's correct.
There would be no development allowed on any lot, and even if you bought a lot in a housing subdivision, you can't just go in there and start clearing it, preparing it. We have to see what you're gonna build before you can start this.
No, I know. I had to go through the whole wetland commission and everything else, which suddenly can be overrun by these guys, and you can build on wetlands all of a sudden. You couldn't do it when I built in the city of Norwich.
Carol Fishbone, 19 Woodland Place.
Earl Fishbone, 19 Bliss Place. I just want to make it clear, I'm from a completely different area of the city. I have no skin in this game. But my concern is for them, what happened to me. And that was, there was construction, not next door to me, but over there. And that changed my water table. You've got, and that gave me flooding. It's a wonderful thing. Now, for these people, you already have, a dam built by beavers. That's not a permanent structure, that's a temporary structure.
in most cases. Not all cases, but some. Beavers like to be on the move. But you've also got some other areas that are strictly wetland. There's water bubbling up. Now, you say, well, we can fix that because we're engineers. Heard that one too. And all we have to do is we're gonna move that water. And we're gonna have our parking lots on the properties that we are engineering and building on. And we're going to make sure that those properties are dry. And if you happen to be outside that limit, that's your problem. That water moves, and it will move in the direction of the lowest way to get there. So that means that these people who live in the surrounding areas, and they may be across a road, they may be at the bottom of another hill, and this may belong to the inland wetlands people. But you've got to make sure that somewhere in those regulations that you've got the appropriate drainage and you've got receptacles for increased water, not just water when it's dry, but water when we have a wet season, a wet year, and that increases that flow of water, that it has some place to go. That is not their responsibility, who have been living in their house for the past 40, 50, 60, multiple generations. It's your responsibility. It's the engineer's responsibility to make sure that that water that hasn't even fallen from the sky yet or bubbled up from underneath the earth has come up yet. But someone somehow has to make sure that the parking lots have the appropriate drainage, that the roads have the appropriate drainage, and that the salt and the sand that is going to be used on those roads has an appropriate place to be cleaned and doesn't suddenly show up in their yards, killing their lawn or the animals that live there. And that's one of the other problems when you're changing all of this water and moving it around. You're also going to be changing where the animals live. Now, currently, you have a natural growth area. And that means that you've got a lot of birds and animals and frogs that are in that area. And you have to move them. So you've got to make sure that whatever it is that you're providing or is provided for in the plan doesn't disturb all of that. Thank you.
Very good. Nathan Reese. Okay, and Sherman, 80 Sherman Street, Norwich.
It's actually came here for the next item under that, but I'm also the abutter here. I own Sunny Waters Mobile Home Park. We have 121 tax-paying residents there that all own their, they own their homes. And I know you're charged tonight to assure that this subdivision meets the subdivision regulations of the city of Norwich, and also protects the health, safety, and welfare of the all the people that are impacted by this. So I just, my concerns are just a couple for them. Obviously, it's going to be buffering. I don't know what you did, what shows on your plans for buffering, so that the residents won't be, really negatively impacted. The 75 feet, I understand they don't necessarily have customers or anyone that's going to want to go to 75 feet, but just for point of reference, if you know the Shannon building, That's 5 stories, 75 feet, usually would come out to about 6 stories, so it'd be taller than the Shannon building, compared to a mobile home that on average is about 13 feet tall. I'm not sure you can buffer that, although I know that one of those lots has a lot of wetlands on it that's closest to us. I think that's 6. Yeah. And also there's a pond in the back, and we have had beavers there, and I didn't know if you have a species study in the file. You do, okay, and you have a traffic study already completed and reviewed, okay. I mean, those were my big concerns, we just, these people to be happy, who do pay taxes as well. And I do agree, Norwich needs more commercial tax paying base as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Mark Perkins from 81 Lawler Lane.
So I submitted mine in writing. Did you want a week to review it? And then I'll speak at the next meeting briefly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, Chase. I think it's. COR.
Is there? Could you spell it out loud for our clerk?
It's CORAN.
AN,
Yes. My name is Chase Corcoran. I live at 465 Canterbury Turnpike. I currently oppose this rezoning plan due to me being highly affected by it. I live directly right in front of lot 5. Do you mind if I approach the map? Can I approach the screen?
We can point it out for
He
you.
can point it out.
Okay, you want me to sit? Okay, I'll stay here at the moment. So yeah, right where the mouse is, right in front of lot 5. So if you see my house right there, and my mom lives right next door at 467. So that lot has been in my family since the early 1970s. I pay over $7,000 in property taxes a year. She pays over $7,000 in property taxes a year. So we pay the city a lot of taxes. We own a few other properties as well. If you look at the scale, bottom corner, you can't see it's X'd out. 1 inch represents 300 feet. It shows. So if you look at that scale and you go back up to where my property is and where lot 5 is, if you look at that building, obviously it's it's not really 1 inch off the property line. By looking at maybe a quarter of an inch of 300 feet, 75 feet. They want to build that building off the back of my property line. So my house is about 3,000 square feet. That building, I know nothing's sold yet, but it could be up to 30,000 square feet. So you're talking 10 times the size of my house directly behind me. So this is a massive, massive plan. Probably the biggest most of, the city officials have worked on in Norwich. I get it would be a great achievement for everyone, right? If they got to develop this, but how many people have worked on a project this big before? I believe the Stanley Industrial Park was envisioned back in the 1960s. Was anyone working for the city in the 1960s? So this is new to everybody. So I'm asking that you guys don't jump into quick decisions. You take the time to think about this, because my house is all brick. So when they start moving ground over here and I start getting cracks across my house, who do I reach out to? Do I reach out to Mr. Kevin Brown, city planning, the mayor? Who do I reach out to about this? You're moving a lot of land. I've worked in construction. I have an understanding of it. I don't know if anyone else here does, maybe a couple people. And then it's like ironic. So the people developing this project, their name is Norwich Community Development Corporation. So the community is here. We don't want this. So, it's got to be a give and take. Why is there 2 buildings on lot 5 button up against the R40 zone? The other small buildings in lot 5, it can be 10,000 square feet up to. Why couldn't the 30,000 square foot one be pushed further back? The 10,000 be behind the residential housing? Why couldn't the parking lot be behind the building against residential property? Why is that? There hasn't been much discussion on
I'm
this.
just gonna
Yes.
interrupt you because this is all,
What ifs?
Right.
I got it.
This is not set in stone, and as they come in, we will, if we approve the subdivision as they come in, we will look at all of that. But right now, these are just concepts of where the lots are going to go, just where the buildings are gonna go, and that, I just want to make that clear.
Yes, I understand that, and I appreciate that, but why couldn't the what if right now be the other way around, right? So I have to look at what I'm visually seeing right now. This is what's being presented to me, so this is what I have to go off of. We can what if all day, and I get that. So who's gonna be taking the water samples around here after this development has been built on a weekly basis, a monthly basis? Is there gonna be state requirements for water sampling? Because most of these residential houses all have wells and septics. So we don't know, once again, it's a big what if, what is going in here? Where's the runoff going? Who's taking the water samples? Is it gonna be a third party? Is it gonna be the company that purchased the land? We don't know. Also, you wanna run the auxiliary road off of Tackle Ockham Road in there. Has anyone here got off exit 18 going southbound where the 7-Eleven is and the Dunkin' Donuts is? You can currently be sitting there for 5 minutes while traffic is backing up on 395. There's no light down there. It is so busy on that road already. So now you want to bring that same auxiliary road in on that Taffel Ockham Road. You have no choice but to widen that. Stoplights, it can't handle it the way it currently is. And Canterbury Turnpike can't handle the roundabout. I mean, the traffic is high volume, the speed's so bad. Norwich Police Department actually put a post out on Facebook, October 31st, stating they're gonna be doing radar on that street and handling the speed due to the high concern from citizens. So they posted on October 31st, excuse me. I haven't seen one police officer yet on that street. And what's today, November 20th, I believe. So I'm not saying they don't care or aren't concerned, but that's just showing you our police force currently doesn't have the time or availability to come and monitor traffic on that street the way it is right now. And now you want to bring an auxiliary road through, a roundabout through. Where's the police force? Where's the fire department? Where's the public works? These are a lot of, once again, what ifs. That's all we have to go off of is what ifs. So it's got to be a give and take. You know, if they build this development, are you going to put sidewalks all the way down Canterbury Turnpike so residents who have been there forever can safely walk their children, their dogs, enjoy their area they're paying taxes in? So I just want everyone to take their time before just approving, because it's such a big achievement. And just, you know, the big thing is just remember who you guys work for. You're not a private entity, you work for the taxpayers. You might not be taxpayers yourself, but you gotta just remember who you're working for. So it's just gotta be a give and take. I think I think this project still needs a lot more rethinking and maybe more what ifs, but currently it's just not looking like it's gonna work for that area the way it is laid out. So thank you very much. Have a good day.
Marilyn Chester, 487 Canterbury Turnpike.
Hello, Marilyn Jester, Canterbury Turnpike. One of my big concerns is, you said you're gonna control the traffic going up Canterbury Turnpike. And Old Canterbury Turnpike. Several people have said that they're gonna slow down the traffic, the amount of traffic on Canterbury Turnpike. How can you do that when, you know,
We'd like you to stand there because they can't hear you online if you're not, but we can show the area that you want. We can.
Well, see, we're here for a map and a reason, and we can't even see the map. You know, this is the kind of stuff we're dealing with, you know, and anyways, they said that when you come up Canterbury Turnpike, towards the turnaround, they could control traffic of how much traffic goes up Canterbury Turnpike. How are you gonna do that? You said so it won't be so busy, Canterbury Turnpike. They're gonna control the amount of traffic that goes up Canterbury Turnpike. How are you gonna do that? That's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, now we do have some people that are,
Yes,
oh, yeah, is there any?
yeah, there is.
Yeah, so, Dan, can you just read their names off to speak?
I don't have anyone with a hand raised,
Okay,
but if you want,
Oh, someone just raised their hand.
no,
Okay.
no,
if you want to ask people to unmute themselves and try to control who goes when.
all right. If you're online and you are interested in, speaking, can you please
Raise their hand.
raise your hand and we will allow you to speak? Yeah, I guess I don't see anybody. All right. Okay, I don't see anyone, so I'm, at this point in time, I'm going to ask if the applicants would like to address the commission on some of the items that were brought up.
First of all, let me just say, Kevin Brown, 66 Franklin Street in CDC. That's what I first of all. The second thing I'd like to say, and for those of you that I've met with personally, I think you understand this. And for those of you that I haven't, all I can ask is that you believe me when I say we appreciate your inputs. I have sat knee to knee with a handful of you, and I hope that they tell you that I'm actually listening. And some of the changes we made, all of the changes that we made are because of those conversations that we had. Chase, it's good to finally meet you. You're in this room, wherever you went. There are, I would hope, one or two folks in this room who would acknowledge that I've been hyper-focused on everything that you just said when you stood at this podium. It's clear. Everybody in this room, how important it is that you're able to say what you said, because you are. I mean, you've been, for me, the example of how difficult this whole development is, because there's probably not one other house in this entire development that is as impacted as you were. And I got that, I understand. So we are listening to what the concerns are. I think, though, Madam Chairwoman, that our best bet would be to assemble all of these inputs that we got and provide a response, rather than sort of tit for tat, point by point, go over everything. I would just like to highlight just a couple things, though, that are misinformation. And we can't leave this meeting with people believing something that is just flat out not true. And I don't know who it is that said that Route 97 was going to turn into a 4-lane road, but it wasn't me. And if you thought it was me, we need to sit down and talk about it, because it was misunderstood. And I know it wasn't any of this team. And if you believe, sir, Mr. Broner, can't find you in the audience, I think you left, that Lawler Lane is also subject to potentially expansion and becoming a 4-lane road to take on the traffic flow. That is also misinformation. I'm not sure who started or believed that to be true. But in fact, we have decided to reach a terminus of this arterial road at Lawler Lane with a gate, which was driven by a couple of the people in this room who said that's what they wanted to see. And that's what we did. Mr. Groner got up here and told you there's no gate and it's a second entryway. That is not true. There is one entryway, and it is off of the interchange coming into the park. And the only time and way that Lawler Lane arterial road intersection would be used if in the far term planning, we actually have enough demand to get all the way out that far. And then it will only be a direct crossing on that lot, which has been reduced in terms of building size. And I'm sorry that it's only beavers there, but that was largely why we wanted to make sure that remained open space, so that we didn't have all of these other runoff and other concerns in that open space to preserve it. That's the only real responses that I want to provide. There are a lot of other factual responses we need to provide to some of their concerns that were addressed, and we'll do that in our assembled response. And you know, we already have to endeavor to a December 5th response on executive summaries. We'll add those responses to that December 5th response. Thank you.
All right. Okay, does anybody from the public want? Oh, there's someone. No. Right. Okay, no one wants to speak. Woman?
Can I just ask
You know, you have to come down and state your name and your address for the record. Yeah.
to post 46 Sandy Lane, Norwich. I just wanted to ask if Kevin could at least address some of the water issues. Because water is a scary thing. And if it's not being dealt with correctly, it does ruin property and lives.
This might be Kevin Brown, NCDC, 6 Franklin Street. This might be one of those times when we have to agree to disagree about the fact that we have engineered designs to ensure that as if conditions are maintained pre and post construction. Beryl doesn't think engineers are going to get it right. I tend to think that they are. Somewhere in between is probably the truth because none of us are flawless. But an enormous amount of money and investigation and effort is going into ensuring that there is retainage. And, now I'm going to start spitting out engineer terms that I'm not an expert at. Impervious surfaces, and runoff, and all of those things are actually, I know you guys find it hard to believe, are all being considered so that the conditions pre-construction are the same conditions post-construction. Jeff, Mr. Board saved you from a lot of engineering techno speak. He didn't talk about the 10-year, 20-year, and 100-year flood conditions and how these things would be wrapped around or designed around those things. We're not talking about meeting your typical rainstorm. We're talking about meeting your 100-year flood conditions. And so there is a certain amount of risk mitigation that I think folks are assuming isn't being taken. That is. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I would like to, anyone else like to speak? Okay, then, I would like to, continue this hearing until the December meeting, and in the meantime, you have to take a motion. No, we don't close it.
No, we're not closing. We want to make a motion to continue this to December 19th as our meeting date.
Make a motion. Yep.
Yep.
Make a motion.
When will the maps be available?
Hold on one second. Sorry.
When will the maps be available?
The maps. So all the records, I'm sorry that you're speaking, but I'll understand today. All of it is available right now. Those maps are online right now on the city's website in the remote folder, okay?
Make a motion to continue the meeting to December
19th.
Hearing to December 19th.
Yes. It's public going to be continued to December 19th. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
All right, all in favor? Ella,
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
That's unanimous. All right, so we're good. And we do have the.
Yep, so I'll just mention that for the public again, so there will be a sidewalk, we'll do an agenda, because I need to post where the location is going to be for the meetup. There will be no questions on a sidewalk, just so you know, sidewalk is walking the property, the engineer can orientate us where things are, we'll have those maps. This is where that is where that is, no questions, so write your questions down if you're out there, if you go on the sidewalk, and when you come to the continued public hearing, then you can come back up again and ask those questions on the record. And the reason is so it's fair to everyone to hear the questions and those answers, so there's no questions and answers out there, okay?
And that's for the commission as well. We can't ask anything except for locational directions and things like that. So, all right. I guess that's it for this application.
We'll give a moment for people. Yes, we do. I guess I want to say for anyone who wants to look at the full set of plans, I do have, if you want to switch, look at some of my office, look at that as well. That's easier. Easier to let me know when you're coming. Yeah, but if you want to look at it,
Thanksgiving.
Once you find it, one there.
This is. More applications.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I plan to be in the.
Do you have a question?
How you doing?
For a year. Across the street. You want to send me an email? I can send you.
All right, we're ready to continue meeting.
Ready to do our thing.
Take care.
No.
Thank you, I'm Karen.
Thank you as well.
Yes. So the next public hearing we have is special permit 23-9-401-409 with Main Street and 128 Main Street. Request for a special permit and DMV -7 location approval in accordance with zoning regulations section 6.3 for the proposed auto repair facility to be associated with associated site. Application is Paleto Development Corp. Property WMST Realty LLC and 409 Main Street LLC. Assessors map 109, lot 1, lots 4, 5, and 6. And no general commercial, and it was received on 11/21. Okay. Okay, I'm asking for a motion to open the public hearing.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
We need a second.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Jason.
Jason.
Okay, then public hearing is open. All right, do we have the applicant here?
Evening, members of the commission. My name is Mark Block. My office is at 138 Main Street in Norwich. I'm here on behalf of Colito Development.
Can you speak into the microphone? Pull it down.
I'm here on behalf of Colito Development. Here this evening are the principal of Colito Development, Matt Ucolito. Remotely is James Cassidy, the engineer for this project, and the project architects, either Black Flory or Melissa Hernandez. The subject of this application are the properties at 401, 409 West Main Street and 128 Maple Street. This is the prior site, or the site of the prior Jiffy Lube, which has been abandoned and an eyesore for more than a decade on West Main Street. So hopefully this commission will see fit to approve this application so we can have a productive tax-paying commercial use that's permitted within the zone. Colito is here to present this application for a special permit, which is going to be used, if approved, as a site for an auto repair facility operated by Caliber Collision, a nationally recognized chain of collision repair facilities. This is a permitted use in this general commercial zone that's allowed by special permit. Presenting the application and going through the plan will be James Cassidy.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Jim Cassidy. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
First, I'd like to ask permission to share my screen, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So again, my name is Jim Cassidy. I'm a professional engineer with the firm of Halsey Pearson Cassidy. My office is located at 630 Main Street in Cromwell, Connecticut. I have with me this evening also in my office is Justin Packard. He's the project engineer on this particular site plan. So he's here to help me answer questions. And as was mentioned, we are here tonight representing Colito Development Group. Matt Ucolito should be in the audience there this evening. First order of business, as was mentioned, we are proposing to develop an automotive repair auto body shop on a piece of property located at 401-409 West Main Street, and also a parcel known as 128 Maple Street. So it's 3 parcels that would ultimately be merged together as part of this development. Automotive use is a special permit use, so we did have to notify all the butters within 100 feet by certified mail, which receipt of that mailing has been provided to the planning department, and I believe they confirmed receipt of that mailing. The property itself, the first screen I have up is an existing site photo of the area. The overall site is outlined in yellow. So we'll start with the upper portion. If you can see where my hand is, this is the parcel at 128 Maple Street being on the top or to the north of the site. And then there are the 2 parcels along Main Street, 141 would be this site, as Attorney Block had mentioned. This site was a former home of the Jiffy Lube. And then in addition to the west is a vacant parcel at 149 West Main Street. The property is bounded on its east by Willow Tree Plaza of Norwich LLC. Bounded on the south at the bottom on here is 82 or West Main Street. Bounded on the west by an additional retail plaza, and then bounded on the north by Maple Street with residential properties across the street. The overall property consists of 84,000 or 1.9 acres of GC, general commercial zone land. As mentioned, we would be looking at consolidating all 3 parcels into 1 parcel as part of this development. Presently, if I zoom up on this site photo, it doesn't take too long to regen. Sorry. So this is the blow up of the front area. As was mentioned, the site is developed with a existing 1-story building that was a former shop for a Jiffy Lube. Associated with that, there were actually 2 site access driveways to the 401 parcel, providing access to a paved parking area to the rear. In addition to, there's an existing curb cut to the 401 parcel. So along the entire frontage, there's presently 3 curb cuts associated with this parcel. There's no curb cuts off of Maple Street. If you were to take a look at the topography, the grades actually slope from the north. So the top portion here down in the south to southwesterly direction at a grade, I'd say is moderate for the upper portion. Starting at elevation about 130 and eventually getting down to a low elevation of about 99 along Main Street. We were also, I'll get a little more into it as part of the review comments, but there also was a requirement or a request that we have our soil scientists go out and take a look at the property to make a determination as to whether there were any wetlands on or within 100 feet of the site. We hired Matt Davison Environmental to go out to the site, and he did confirm that there are no wetlands on this site or within 100 feet of the subject parcel. What the proposal is for is to remove the existing Jiffy Lube building and to build a new state-of-the-art automotive repair facility. The site plan I have rendered on this package is basically the site layout plan that you have in your package which is colored. What the proposal is to build a new one-story, 12,615 square foot building. In addition to, we're building a parking area to accommodate a total of 56 vehicles. Per your zoning regulations, we're actually required to provide 55. What's the proposal is we actually create or utilize one of the existing curb cuts. So the existing, we'll say easterlymost curb cut would be maintained. This would provide access to a front area for parking for customers and also provide area to the back portion of the site where there'd be vehicles that need to be repaired and customer vehicles for repair to the back. So the total number of parking spaces would be 56 on this site. In addition to the construction of the new building and the related parking areas, we're going to be constructing our utilities such as stormwater management areas. On the left-hand side or bottom left corner, you see a light blue area. As part of this development, what we're doing is we're proposing to create a small stormwater management basin. The stormwater management basin is designed to collect all the runoff from all the paved surfaces, in addition to the roof leaders of the building. The roof leaders from the building themselves will be discharged through a small underground detention system. And it will also tie back into the blue area, which is the drainage system before discharging to that stormwater management basin. The objective and design parameters for this the system is number one, to treat stormwater quality, which is a requirement of the 2004 DEP Stormwater Quality Manual, but also to attenuate peak flows, so increases in runoff caused by additional impervious coverage prior to tying into the existing drainage system in West Main Street. Other utilities, there is existing sanitary sewer in the roadway that would be tying into, actually is lateral that services Jiffy Lube that will be connecting right to for service to the building. We would also be providing a new water service to the building, and all of the utilities such as power and communication also would be provided underground. As part of the site plan, I also should know that the entire rear portion of the building would be circumferenced by a chain link fence. As part of this chain link fence, we will be required to put vinyl slats to provide screening of the entire back area. There's a gate in this location, so it's just not open to the public. The only area up to the public would be the front parking area towards the front door of the site. Zoning in the GC zone, we went through your zoning regulations to take a look at all the requirements. I won't go through each individual one, but based upon the table that's provided on your plan, you can see that we easily meet and exceed all the requirements of the GC zone. And as I mentioned, for parking, we went through your parking requirements. Per our analyzation of the requirements, we were required to provide 55 spaces. We're actually at 56 spaces in total. We've also submitted some building elevations as part of our package. If the architect is online, I would have him speak a little bit about the building design, and then I will come back on and talk a little bit more about site lighting and site landscaping.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Hernandez. I'm representing Cross Architects. So as you may already know, Caliber Coalition is one of the biggest coalition centers in the nation with over 1,700 locations in 41 states, and they're still growing. They are not the average typical auto body shop that you see everywhere. As a multi-state, multi-operator of body shops, Caliber Coalition is well-versed in the procedures and requirements to divert any operational hazards. And they also work with most of major insurance companies. And the way they operate, all repair activities will be conducted indoors and completely screened from public view. As James has mentioned, public parking will be located in the front along West Main Street, and all vehicles received for repair will remain behind the fenced parking area at the back. And the facility will operate from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., Mondays to Fridays. And typically they will have about 18 to 20 staff employees in the size of a facility. As you can see on the elevations, we're showing EFIS over stones at the front, which is the office, and then at the sides where it's considered as the shop is the R panel, also at the back of the building. We're very excited to work with you and take part in the city's vision in terms of growth. We would happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
I have some questions.
Mhm.
What was the encroachment? Where was the area for the encroachment permit that you need for the DOT?
So we're going to need an encroachment permit to do any work within the right of way. The existing curb cut is going to need to be replaced. It's going to be in the same location, but we also have to replace it. In addition to along the frontage, we need to tie into the existing utilities. So anytime we do any work within the state highway right of way, whether it's utility or sidewalks or creating a new curb cut, we need to get encroachment permit from DOT.
Okay. Also, and the plan shows a chain link fence, but in the collision repair, the special permit narrative, it mentions 6-foot high wood fences.
It's supposed to be chain link fence if I missed on that.
It's a continuation of special permit application. And it mentions some criteria.
Okay. I was going to go through that a little bit later in the presentation.
Okay.
I had a little bit more to do, but I believe we're saying a chain link, unless Matt, you concur otherwise. Matt's in the audience there. But let me just continue with my portion of the presentation, then we'll go through the rest of that. So as part of the site plan package also, we did submit a photometrics plan for the site lighting. We did review your section 5.5.3 to ensure that we're in conformance with the requirements, and reviewing it. What I'm finding is that basically if you have any light fixtures that are over 900 lumens, that we need specific requirements such as having shielded fixtures, full cutoff fixtures, and dark sky compliant fixtures. So we don't have the trespassable light onto adjoining properties. On the plans that were submitted, we give cuts of the actual fixtures. All the fixtures will be high efficiency LED lightings. And the fixture itself, the light source itself is within the actual unit. So it's not protruding down. So it is a full cutoff fixture. And we also created a photometrics plan. And to the rear, and to the side, and to the front, we have no trespass along the property line. The maximum light increase is about 0.4 foot candles, but that's typical between commercial properties when we're this close to an adjoining property line. In addition to, as part of the application, we did submit a landscaping plan. This is a landscaping plan that was provided. We've actually updated it since per some staff comments that we received. As part of the landscaping plan, we're proposing to put a couple of street trees along the frontage. We do have a landscape island along the front office area or front park sidewalk area of the site. That would be planted with low shrubs, and then continuing down along the side building. In addition to, there's 2 landscape islands within the back parking area with 2 landscape trees. The basin itself would be maintained with a meadow mix, so it would be mowed, and it would actually be kept dry. As part of the staff comments, there was requests this back area on the north side. There's a lot of existing significant deciduous trees. We were asked to supplement that area with additional evergreens. We did have the landscaping plan updated to include a row of evergreens along the top of the cut slope along that back side of the project. In addition to, there was a request from the landscape architect to add a note to ensure that all proposed landscaping material was native and it was a non-invasive species. There is a note number 20 added to the plant notes section of this landscape plan indicating as of such. Mary Blackburn is our landscape architect that we use for this particular project. We did receive the comments, a memo from Deanna Rhodes regarding the overall application. Similar to the prior application with the response from Attorney Block. What I'd like to do is go through them, but I'd prefer not to read each individual comment. I'll just give you the number of the comment with a response to it, just to keep the meeting going if the commission is okay with that. Number one, quickly is just acknowledgement that the application has been submitted to the other city departments for review, so we acknowledge that. Number two, is just basically that we needed to provide evidence that we notified the abutting property owners within 100 feet of this public hearing, which we have and provided to staff. Diana, can you just confirm that you actually received our notifications?
We have the notifications, thank you.
Okay. Comment number three, this is one I alluded to a little bit earlier. There was a comment that there was a question as to whether or not there are any wetlands on this site, because the wetlands, I understand for the city of Norwich, is done from the DEP mapping. So when you have much smaller areas, you got to verify that there's actually no wetlands. We did have Matt Davison of Davison Environmental go out there. He investigated the site. I do have a letter from him indicating that there are no wetlands on this site or within 100 feet of the site. As you can see, if you take a look around the surrounding area, it's a well-developed landscape. So there's no wetlands or within 100 feet to impact on this site.
I have not received that yet. You're going to be submitting that to me tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize, but he just got out there, so.
Oh, that's fine.
I do have it. Sorry, number four. There was a question about the past environmental assessment of this property, being a Jiffy Lube and prior uses. There was some prior contamination on this property. We did receive all the environmental reports from Cleto Development that they received as part of doing their due diligence. We've gone through several thousand pages of documents regarding this. There was a phase one done and there was some contamination found in the soils. That contamination was remediated. In addition to, in the phase one, there was a question, or I will say an unknown, as to the possibility of underground storage tank. As part of Cleto Development's due diligence on this property, they actually had ground penetrating radar done of the site. And that ground penetrating radar determined that there was actually not underground storage tank on this site. So the site has been remediated. And there are no storage tanks on the site. So at this point, it is a clean site. In my response letter, Deanna, that I'll give you, we refer to all the reports that we reviewed. We can give you copies of them if you like, but at the end of the day, it ends up being a clean site at this point.
So you're just, okay, it's very hard to hear you. Are you going to be providing me something that says that the site is clean now, that it's environmentally clean?
Yeah, I have a response letter that I'll give, that I'm reading from right now. I'll give you the whole letter. And it'll show you everything that we reviewed. And then confirming that the site is clean. Number five, the request is that as part of the application, we need to get a certificate of location approval for zoning regulation 6.3. This is a license location approval for a auto repair facility. In addition to, we have to pay a $300 fee. There's a K7 application. It's a DMV dealer's repair license approval form. Matt Colito, who's in the audience with you this evening, actually has that application form. I think Deanna, he's reviewed it and he's going to forward it to you later for final signing and also provide you with the $300 check. Number six, it just talks about the archaeological sensitivity. We acknowledge it, and anything that is required from the planning department, we will do with item number six. Number seven deals with the architectural plans. We've submitted the architectural plans sheet A10, which Melissa has basically gone over with you. There were some questions about the overall design of it, but this updated plan is going to be provided as part of our final set, as part of this application. Number 8 deals with no freestanding signs. We acknowledge that, and we acknowledge that any other signs, such as building mounted signs, we need to go to receive a zoning permit from the ZEO. The number 9 deals with the site lighting. As I mentioned earlier in my presentation, we did review the section 5.53 of rezoning regulations, and based upon my review, I believe the site lighting plan that we prepared and submitted is in conformance with that section of the regulation. Item 10 deals with some additional items or clarifications that needed to be on the plan. We agreed to accommodate all those conditions or recommendations as part of the final approved set of plans. Number 11, the applicant should provide response to 13 items of special permit criteria per zoning regulation 7.76. Additionally, the applicant shall review and submit the adequate response to special permit criteria zoning regulation 6.3 related to automotive repair uses. With the submission of this application, we did provide our special permit requirements and why we feel that we meet all those requirements. If you like, I can go through each one individually, or if what's submitted is sufficient, please.
No.
What's that?
You don't need to go through those, however, I think that you do, one that you do need to respond to is one of your items was talking about having wood, the wooden fence, and I can bring that up to you, what number that is, but you should really talk about 6.3 really quickly. That's not you to talk about that, but that's about the motor, that there's some distance requirements from motor vehicle repair from each other, so if you could touch on those, please.
Yes. So 6.3 is 6.3. We need to have a certificate of approval. 6.31, the location of the proposed auto facility will not impair the safety of the public. The use of the appropriate within the zone subject to a special permit. The use is in harmony with the commercial nature of the surrounding properties. The applicant shall provide sufficient screening for neighboring properties adequately and adequate access to the vehicles. The use will not generate noxious odors. All work will be done inside the building and limit noise generation. As Melissa had mentioned, all the work is done inside, the doors are closed, so any odors from any operations of the auto body shop will remain inside the building. In addition to, along the back portion, not only are we proposing to keep the existing vegetation that's there, but also supplement it with a row of evergreens. So we feel we comply with 6.31. The next requirement is that no garage or repair facility of primary activity shall be erected near a building not to be used for such purpose as part of a lot within 1,000 feet or a straight line measured to the nearest portion of the lot used or proposed to be used for the within stated purpose. So my understanding of the requirement is you just want to confirm that we are not within 1,000 feet of another automotive repair facility or same use. This is a copy of your GIS mapping that I have up on the screen. Reviewing it and taking a look at other automotive uses within the general area. Our parcel is indicated by the yellow area outlined to the center of the page. Off to the north, we're finding that there is a Goodyear auto care facility. That Goodyear auto care facility to the nearest property line is 1,730 feet. And then off to the south or southwest, we're finding there's a Monroe muffler repair facility. That facility is located 1,610 feet from this facility.
And you'll be providing this map to us.
Yes, I'll send this whole presentation package. Yep. Number 2, no gas pumps or filling appliances shall be located within 25 feet of any lot line. With this proposed application, there are no gas pumps proposed at all, so we meet and exceed that requirement. 6.3.2, misrepresentation or fraud. If if that certificate of approval were to proceed by misrepresentation or fraud, the commission may, after the hearing, revoke the certificate. We do acknowledge that. We understand it, and we researched this and looked at it hard, and we feel that this is the appropriate location for this type of use. And then 6.3.3 is deals with the fee, as mentioned. We do have a check for the automotive use fee for the application. Mr. Euclid will submit that shortly. So with that, I'm going to conclude my portion of the presentation, and I'll gladly answer any questions you may have.
Could you go back to specifications for the fence, please? I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Give me 1 second, please.
I can tell you where it is. I found it. It's number of your submission. It was number 4. The building has been situated on the sites as to meet all the bulk requirements, including the 50-foot buffer from the residential zone adjacent to Maple Street. The 1-story building is keeping in the style of the surrounding commercial properties along West Main Street. The developer is proposing both a 6-foot-high wood fence and a robust planting plan for screening purposes. A portion of the existing tree line is also being retained. Are you now asking for that 6-foot-high wood fence to be a chain link with slats?
No. So what we were talking about is I misunderstood. Around the perimeter of the parking lot, we have a chain link fence. Up in the upper portion, I think when we had our initial meeting, we were asked to put some additional buffering in that area. It must be my misunderstanding, but the thought was to do one or the other. We were looking at using evergreens in this area. I guess we can have a discussion if the evergreens aren't sufficient. We need to supplement something else. We could take a look at putting a wood fence up along this upper portion of the site, but it's not the entire site. The chain link fence would just go around the parking area and the drive aisles to the rear of the building.
I'm going to ask the chairman here, do you have any concerns about what they want to do? They're not really putting a wooden fence. It doesn't sound like it's the chain link around the bottom area. And then
I have a question about, first of all, the plantings along Maple Street. What type of evergreens, and did you provide a planting plan for that?
Yes.
So for a Maple Street, just so you know, it's existing vegetation, a lot of it.
Going to add to it.
Where they're grading, yep.
And so what are you going to add to it?
We're looking at adding 16 eastern red cedars at a 6-foot planting height.
At what height?
6 feet.
Okay.
They'd be at the top of so there's a cut slope along the back of the project for the development of the parking lot. So we put them at the top of the slope, so you maximize the screening right off the start.
All right.
It shows wooden fence on the plan, just so you see that.
What's that?
It does say wooden fence on the plan, Dan saying.
Okay, yeah, no, yeah, you're right, down along the bottom here.
I'm having a really tough time understanding and hearing what he's saying.
Yeah, the speaker is lousy.
Yeah.
What are you saying? Can you say that again? Because we can't hear you.
I think what we had talked about is possibly putting a wood fence along the top of the slope. The fence at the bottom would have been a chain link. I do see where my landscape architect did put wood fence on the bottom, but there's no real advantage to having a wood slope at the bottom of the slope. A wood fence at the bottom of the slope is not going to provide any screening. If we were going to put a piece of wood fence in, it'd be better at the top of the slope.
Okay, do you have a detail of that wood fence?
I do not.
To have that detail.
Excuse me.
I would like to have a detail for the wood fence. Is it a solid board wood fence?
It's solid board fence, yes.
I think it would be more useful up in the back, like he said. It kind of hides the property from the residential area.
I can physically tell you that Dan and I went out there, you can't see, you won't really be able to see in there. They're above, correct, Dan? Above, and you're looking down.
Yeah, right, Maple Street's above.
It goes up almost 30 feet, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, fence in some, would be maybe possibly good there, but I don't think it necessary that wood fence needs to be around the parking area at all.
No,
That's what we're finding. So I think though the commission would like the wood fence at the top with the planting staying. Is that
Yeah,
fair to say?
yeah.
And provide a detail of that. Is there any particular kind of fence you want, Kathy?
Well, we should have a detail, but I do have a little concern with wood fences because they do deteriorate and it is a problem. Their maintenance is a problem, so,
Would you want a vinyl fence up there? Is that what you're asking for instead?
whatever, I mean, I think we need to, if whatever is going to be.
I'd rather not have a chain link up there.
No chain link, something that's durable. The wood fence, sometimes you can get good durable wood fences, but I mean, I don't even know what any idea what you're putting.
Yeah.
And that's, I just want to chime in because I live within walking distance of this. I live on Pine Street. And, from a residential aesthetic, yeah, I do agree that there should be some level of fencing at the top of the property. My only concern with putting the wooden fencing there is making sure that it's maintained. Because Wendy's doesn't maintain theirs, it's falling down and it looks absolutely horrendous. I'm fine with the extra planting, anything that's going to kind of, hide the commercial view from the residential.
This is Mark Block. I was talking to Mr. Ucalito. We can offer a pressure treated product or some other product rather than a plain wood fence that might deteriorate the road over time. So
Or vinyl.
I would really like to see that. I mean, I hate to say that.
And we're not a public hearing if you wanted to for that. That would be the one thing.
Oh, I don't know that I want to continue the hearing for that,
So-
but I would like to, Deanna,
can we do a subject, condition that we submit a product when subject to staff approval?
Vinyl or pressure treated, maybe?
Yes.
what was that, Jason?
Hmm?
Did you say something, Jason?
Oh, I mentioned, have the stipulation have vinyl or pressure treated.
Right, and submit it to the staff, and actually, why don't we submit it to we can send it to everybody, especially Ella, if she's gonna be at most of. And then we can give you our input, but sometimes they have these, they're really sturdy, they're more like this. And they're like, one is here and then.
Oh, they're talking about like almost the fence is staggered. It's a
Yeah.
board, there's another behind, and then it's
Yeah.
forward and back,
Yeah.
forward and back. It really is a great, a barrier. It's
And
a
it's
sturdy
very
barrier.
sturdy. So,
So can you look at something like that, please?
Could you say that again? I'm getting a little feedback.
Is the type of fencing where it's almost staggered. You have a board and then there's a board behind and then there's a board back in front and behind. It just makes it gaps and it's very sturdy.
Yeah, hi, Matt Ucalito with Calito Development Group. Yeah, we can absolutely look at a fence like that. We'll submit a couple of items. You guys can let us know which one works.
okay, thank you. Okay, so the other question I have is, what type of landscaping will be on the sides of by the chain link fence? 'Cause
So there's really not much we can do on the sides of the property. We do have a commercial development.
I know they're, but
Yeah, but the other thing to consider is along this, the entire west side, there's actually a storm drainage line, that goes all the way down through there. That comes from Maple Street and eventually ties into it. So I really can't plant anything on top of that storm drainage line.
right,
I have a question. One of the things my question was, and I think it's in my memo, but maybe it's here. How did you address the issue with that the architectural drawing layout did not match the site plan with the parking in the front with those, you have the curb, and on the other side, we didn't necessarily need you to do another curbing, but we wanted to curb it partially so that, because it wasn't showing anything. So did you correct that on this site plan? And it was, because before you had, I think, 7 spaces, and now it was 5 before. What do you have now?
So we had the architectural plan updated accordingly to match the site plan.
So you updated it to match the, okay, it's hard for me to see here. So it does match the floor plan with the curving. Thank you. Thank you. If you have more questions, I'm gonna tell you, because I stuff for the
Okay,
record.
because you have a lot of comments in there.
So my comments have all been addressed.
Okay.
Then I have conditions, I have some conditions of
Okay.
approval, that were in number 14 of the memo. And I would add to that, I had a few more from the conversation, but before I do that for you, I just want to let you know, Dan, can you put the exhibit list up? So we have an exhibit list, it is a public hearing, I'd like a waiver of me reading.
Can you share your screen?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have an exhibit list of the items from the public hearing, and I've asked that you waive the reading all of them into the record. That's fine.
Applicant waives the reading to the record.
Thank you. There is a typo, I just know number 11 says email from said ZOE, but it's CEO regarding fencing. So I just want to add in just say a couple of things. So we did receive the mailings. And they were fine. The CEO sent an email, which I'm not going to read it to the record, but basically, there's an ordinance about fencing of junk, and city ordinance is really a tall fence, but but the road behind it is so tall and it's in it, it doesn't make sense to require more than a 6-foot fence. He's okay with not going any further with that. My memo again, trying to see if there's anything else. I did not receive comments from many of the departments, which I'm hoping that you guys did, but NPU did not submit any comments to me. So hopefully you worked with them for the utilities. Can you verify that?
We have not received comments from anybody.
No, so that's been a little disconcerting, and that I didn't, and I sent him a message today, did not get a response back, but NPU, zoning did, but it was only the issue about the fence. Building is always later on, and fire marshal was more of later on, so I can't speak on, in the city engineer's comments were incorporated in my memo, so because we had discussed them, so he didn't provide one, but his comments have been addressed. So it's really just the NPU, but you have to work with them and DOT anyways, for those encroachments, so.
Right, and again, this is a site that's presently served with utilities, so whatever we have to do to work with the utility company would be fine, but did not foresee much of a problem with utilities here.
Yep, okay, no, that's good. So again, this is the list of exhibits, I'd like to waive the reading of it. The legal notice was published on 11/10 and 11/17/2023 as required. Again, there's just the normal things that come with the application. So there's 2 things that need to happen with the commission tonight regarding this application, that they do need to make a decision first on the special permit. And I have on my memo, if Dan wants to call it out, he can. I have number 14 is all the items that I would say would be conditions of approval. And obviously the reason would be that the proposal conforms to the certain sections of the regulations that are stated right there, 5, 6.37. But I would add to these bullet points some things that we just discussed, which would be that the applicant provide the detail for the fencing for review and approval by staff with commission review or something. That the letter from the soil scientists be provided to the city planning department. That a letter be provided that indicates that the site has been remediated, and then the $300 fee be paid in the K7 application submitted for signature by the chairman. So those are the other 4 things that I would add.
If I could form the commission, I have in my possession the K7.
Yep.
That I can have delivered.
Yep, so if you could bring that tomorrow with me, I'm just gonna put it as a condition.
I have the check for $300.
Okay.
I have the letter from Davidson Environmental,
Okay, good.
which will solve your
So you
environmental.
want to, I'll cross that off if you give it to me now.
And then you have to add those in as.
Yep, so I'll add that as an exhibit.
Exhibit.
So you have this one for the environmental ones, didn't have to do that. That's the remediation letter. Oh, that's the wetlands letter. That's not, that's the.
I'm sorry, that's the wetlands letter. That's not the remediation.
Okay, so this is the wetlands letter. Okay, so I'm adding that as exhibit number 14, Davison Environmental, dated 11/20/23, and it was received tonight. 11/21. So that's about the one. So now I'm sort of clarify. So it would be my bullet points that are on the board, the detail for the wood or pressure, vinyl or pressure treated wood fence for review and approval by staff, commission review. That a letter provided that indicates the site has been remediated. And again, I'm just gonna mention that the $300 fee be paid to the city and in the K7 form be submitted. After the decision is made for that public hearing, then we make a decision on that K7, and that's about the approval for DMV. And then just to remind you, reasons are the location would be suitable for the use intended as stipulated, and that's not going to interfere with safety of the public. It already was not use in that location, but that would be the second thing after we vote on the special.
Okay, all right, we have everything.
Yes.
Into the record.
Okay, last thing, yes, great.
Okay. So now I would like to see if there's anybody who would like to speak in favor of this application. State your name and address for the record.
Nathan Weiss, 80 Sherman Street. I'm also the current owner of the property. I've been working on putting something together there for a while. It's been my family since I think 1930. And I wish I had thought of this use a long time ago. I mean, this is great for Norwich. This is a professional, outfit. They're a $1 billion outfit coming in here, $1 billion plus. I think it's going to be great for it. It also solves an issue that I had with the back piece of property because it got rezoned, but had no access to it to the town. Separate parcel 128 Maple can't have access to Maple Street because it's commercial now. Used to be residential, but it technically doesn't touch the town road, so it just makes it all better. And for final note, I just want to say I sat behind Sheila Hayes for the first time since 1964 in first grade, and I did not pull her hair.
Hey, is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor of this application? And no comments about.
No.
Sheila
Hayes, 382 Laurel Avenue. I'm not opposed to this. I just want clarification. Because I'm glad to see that property is being proposed to come back online. But earlier in the presentation, it either was hard for me to hear, but there's a requirement of where it's located, making sure that there's enough distance between existing businesses. I thought the gentleman mentioned Goodyear.
He misspoke. It's Firestone. It's Firestone.
So, and then there's one across the street. Is that not considered an automotive?
There is one across the street from.
That's the gas station.
No,
The gas
no,
station.
not the gas station, down Firestone, and then there's,
One across the street.
then there's a transmission automotive.
But it's still.
That's still.
No, I understand, for me, I just wanna make sure that that's what.
It's the closest ones that are the closest to this and the measurement distance they have to
Right.
provide.
Right, that's what, but I wanted to make sure because Goodyear is not.
No, he just misspoke.
Okay, I just, that's really was point of clarification, but I wanna say, I'm glad to see this property coming back on, and being, viable for the community. Thank you.
I did actually have one more question. too.
Okay.
About, and this was told when we had discussions about the use, with you originally in zoning, and I just wanted to put it on the record. The cars that come there for collision, what is the length of time that they stay in that lot? We do have junk, I want to clarify because we have junkyard rules and this would not be allowed to be a junkyard. So the leaving of cars there for, an accident, just sitting there is not going to be acceptable, I guess.
Matt Ucalito, Toledo Development Group, if they are totaled, they have 24 hours to remove them. If otherwise they're going through the normal process of being repaired, which, they're a business, they want to get them out of there as fast as possible. They don't allow anything to stay there as junk. I can't tell you exactly how long one car will take to get through, but they have, I think it's something on the order of, Melissa might be able to tell me a little better. She works with them all the time. They have, 12 bays. They're moving multiple cars through every day. So they're
And
they're
they would
wanting
all be
cars.
registered, so they wouldn't be considered junk. cars.
Yes, but what you're saying is in the sense of that they get, it becomes a junkyard because no one decides to come and pick it up because they're not gonna pay for the repair or something.
If it's totaled, which would be something not repairable, it will be gone in 24 hours. That's their policy.
And we have a zoning enforcement officer that will enforce. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else want to speak in favor or opposed to this application? All right, any additional comments from the applicant?
No further comments.
Any questions from the commission?
No.
Okay, otherwise I will close this public hearing. Motion to close.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'd like to second that motion.
That Jason?
Oh, I'd like to second that motion. This is Jason.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Okay, so would we like to take action on this application? And first we have to act on the special permit application. Can I entertain a motion
I'd like to make a motion to approve it
with?
Due to the fact that it will bring higher tax income to the city, and also improve the commercial base.
Jason?
No. Do you have any conditions?
Oh, condition, yes. The conditions are that the developer works with NPU, conforms section chapter 5 and 6.3, 7.5, and 7.7. Provide detail for the fencing as long as it's approved by staff. A letter from the soil scientist. And a $300 fee.
We have the letter from the soil scientist. It's about the environmental remediation.
And meet those
Yeah.
conditions.
A letter from the soil scientist talking about the remedial conditions.
Would you like to motion to have them meet Deanna Rhodes, the town planner's conditions?
Number 14.
And her memo.
I'm sorry, you broke up. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you that good.
Make a motion to.
He has a motion on the floor. You can't make it.
Okay, wait.
I can't add his motion.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm going to ask you if you would like, so we understand your motion being to approve that application with conditions that you discussed, but also would you like to include that they address Deanna Rhodes' conditions listed in her report?
Yes, I would like that they can follow the conditions in Deanna's report.
Thank you. Do we have a bond for this?
One of the conditions is a bond, and the bond amount is $22,598.
And they will be posting that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So just so I can clarify for when we're writing this up, that Jason has a motion on the table with my comments to be addressed, as well as to work with NPU on the utilities, the detail for the fencing be provided, the letter for regarding the remediation of the site, and all the items again listed in my memo. And that it conforms to the sections and zoning regulations that I stated earlier, which are chapters 5, 6.3, 7.5, and 7.7. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What?
Mentioned the $300 check.
Oh, and then the $300 check and K7 form will be submitted.
That reflects what your motion is that correct?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, so we have a second?
This is Ella, I'll second.
Thanks, Ella. We'll have you with the second. Thanks.
All right, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay,
Are you voting too?
yes, of course. Okay, now I'm going to ask that we take action against regarding their K7 DMV application.
Yeah. And just, it's an approval if you do it, and then the reason on the record, what I stated earlier was the location is suitable for the use intended and stipulated and will not interfere with the safety of the public. as it was previously automotive use, it was previously an automotive related use.
Anybody want to make a motion? No?
Make a motion to approve the K7 BMP approval location and meets the requirements
Yes.
as stated by
Yeah.
Deanna.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Perfect. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then that's action. Right. All right, we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was unanimously approved, just, thank you.
Okay. Okay, now, site plan, 10. Site plan review for land disturbance activity associated with the preparations of commercial pad site. Development in Sandy, property of Sandy. Assessors map 41, lot 1, lot 5. 5.1, 5.2, and 5.RD, and this is from UT. Page on 10/17/2024.
Yeah, I just wanted, this is the site development plan application. The commission will have to table this after the presentation, so we can ask questions. Wetlands will not be making a decision on this to the December meeting.
Correct.
So this will be on the December 21st meeting. But we thought we wanted to give the applicant opportunity to talk about what this project is. The site is crosses boundaries with Franklin, so Franklin obviously was notified of this project. The project was a completely area in Franklin. It's all in Norwich, but the property does extend into Franklin. So we have received no comments from them. We just no comments.
Okay.
So Dan did the memo on this, so I'm actually going to turn this kind of over to Dan. Any questions? Okay.
Yep.
We're going to change it.
Yes. But we thought we'd get an opportunity to hear it, so if you have questions, they can address it for the next.
And welcome, maybe you want to see it.
I'm gonna bring it up.
Okay.
Follow along
Just
with
wanted
what
to-
he's saying.
yeah.
So everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is David McKay with Boundaries LLC, here on behalf of the applicant Sammy P. Inc. and property owner Sammy Petrowski. As Deanna mentioned, this property is located in both Norwich and Franklin. Our activity is only proposed in Norwich. This is located off the end of Myrtle Drive and Dominican Drive. So it's behind the FedEx facility and the St. Jude Housing Corporation property in the Stanley Israelite Business Park. On sheet 5, this is an overall view of our property with our proposed grading. What this proposal is submitted under section 5.4 of the zoning regulations for land disturbing activity. We don't have a proposed use at this time. The goal is to make 2 marketable, buildable development sites on the property. One right off of the end of the cul-de-sac of Myrtle Drive and Dominican Drive, 1.4 acres of 3% sloped area for a potential development, and then another larger 4-acre parcel located here, building pad site for a potential future development. Overall area of activity on this lot is 18.6 acres in order to create those 2 commercial pad sites. Excerpt on sheet 6 of the applicable requirements for the zoning regulations. The land itself greatly exceeds the minimum requirements, and the one item of note from the zoning regulations are requirements for landscape buffers. And we are proposing, in accordance with the zoning regulations, to maintain a 20-foot undisturbed strip along the entire perimeter of the project with the abutting parcels. And that strip is intended to be left in its natural state. That area is all currently wooded. And then the primary screening that will be provided is elevation, because this driveway is a continuous 5% slope down to the proposed pad site. So it's substantially lower than the lot with the St. Jude housing building.
Takes a second to load, Dave.
Sure. Sheet 7 is our grading and stormwater plan. Right, so bottom right-hand corner of the screen is the cul-de-sac at the end of Dominican Drive. FedEx is right here in the white space above that. Proposal is to construct a new driveway continuing from Dominican Drive down into the site. One of the comments from staff review was relocating our proposed driveway from the end of Myrtle Drive to our main driveway coming off of Dominican Drive. And we can update the plans in advance of the next meeting to reflect that and have an entrance here, so there would be no access from the drive. Stormwater management in this portion of the project, we're going to pick up the existing discharge from the end of Dominican Drive and move that slightly out of our construction area with an extension of pipe and a riprap outlet hole. And then we have a stormwater basin along the side of the access driveway, which will take all of the runoff from our 1.4 acre pad site through a riprap swale, crossing under the driveway to a sediment bed. Our stormwater management systems on this project are all intended to be constructed stormwater wetland systems with oversized sediment bays to provide adequate, treatment of stormwater before the discharge. So they'll be seeded with seed mix, and there'll be wet basins with a permanent pool of water and varying depths of water to allow for different wetland species to grow in there. And then it discharges to the wooded area to a level spreader. Level spreader is a 40-foot long curb that controls the flow of the runoff in all storm events to be shallow and non-erosive. Runoff from the driveway itself, which will be cut into the existing grades, will be collected in swales on the sides and brought down to our other stormwater basins, which are located at the top of the page there. The black lines on the screen are the symbols for the riprap swales. They'll be collecting runoff from the driveway and the pad site and flowing down to two separate stormwater basins, which are the same design principles as the previous one, constructed stormwater wetlands. Skipped over this, I should have mentioned it. There is a vernal pool on the property that is off to the left side of the page. We are maintaining over 100-foot buffer from the wetlands that vernal pool is located in. We're maintaining a minimum of 75% of forested canopy within 750 feet of that vernal pool. And we're also providing a wildlife exclusion fence along the entire southern perimeter of the project to keep the wildlife that use that pool outside of the work area. Our, sorry, they jumped down and stick on this sheet. We also have an interceptor riprap channel along our easterly project limits that follows the NPU sewer easement through the property. And that's going to collect the stormwater runoff that enters the site from Myrtle Drive's drainage system and pass it around our project area. Sheet 9 is the first sheet of our erosion and sedimentation control plan. The primary method for erosion controls is proposed to be a perimeter of the wood chip berm created from the trees that are going to be cleared on the property, and also intermediate wood chip berm spanning the entire existing grades where the slopes are steeply sloping down into the site. And then once we get to the larger work area, you can see the wood chip berms spanning across the entire site. Also at the perimeter, and then 2 temporary sediment traps where we are going to have channel ice flow. So those sediment traps are sized in accordance with the 2002 guidelines. Sheet 11 is our project phasing plan. So overall, this project has 18.6 acres of land to be cleared. That will be cleared in one time, and then the erosion control measures installed by stage as it's stumped. So the first work item would be to get enough of the upper 1.4 acre pad site in to have some area to stockpile topsoil and those similar materials, and also to construct the driveway down into the lower pad and the initial sediment trap at the bottom of the proposed access driveway. Once that area has been graded out, the slope stabilized for the driveway, and the stormwater management features installed, move on to the bulk earthwork for the southern half of the 4 acre pad site. Continuing on to the northern half of the pad site, similar process with the temporary sediment trap in the corner there, installing the stormwater basin and relocating those wood chips berms as the cutting and filling is completed. And then finally at the end, stabilizing the 1.4 acre pad site at the end of Dominican Drive. Sheet 12 is our erosion and sedimentation control plan. These are the notes that go along with it. They're very detailed because this project will be subject to the Connecticut DEP stormwater permit. Also has these sediment trap details and erosion control details that go along with that. Sheet 14 is the stormwater notes and details for the various swales, lumber spreader, and pipe installations under drains that will be used as part of the project. And then the stormwater management basin details. And then the last sheet shows cross sections from the site. You can see the driveway accessing the lower pad site is profile AA. That is cut below the existing grades of the property as it descends down into the lower portion of the site, and then cross section BB through the lower pad site. See, starting at the bottom, there's the stormwater basin, the swale crossing the slope, and then the 3% slope for the commercial pad site and the cut slope to catch up to grade. So the grading on this property is entirely balanced. So there's no export intended. It's approximately 117,000 cubic yards of cut and 117,000 cubic yards of fill within a few hundred cubic yards. So existing materials are going to be reused on site. There's a lot of boulders and surface rock on this property. That material is going to be crushed and used for the gravel for the site.
You're gonna have a crusher on this?
Yes, yes. We do have notes that prohibit processing on the 1.4 acre pad area. So that's only intended to be down at the bottom of the driveway.
Can you provide a schedule for when that would be too, because of the people that live in that area? St. Jude.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, so in our narrative, we are proposing 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. That's our proposal.
Is that standard?
Not necessarily, I don't think.
7 sounds a little.
Well, but that, I mean.
7 in the morning is usually where it kind of starts, but 7 p.m. is pretty late.
Yeah, but I think, you know, maybe how close is St. Jude? those crushers are pretty loud, so I think
There-
we.
I don't see a lot of residential nearby,
St. Jude is surrounds it.
except for Sunnyside.
That white spot in the middle is St. Jude.
I can,
Let's see.
And that's like a nursing.
so their
Living.
yeah, their building is up at the Myrtle Drive area. And I unfortunately don't show it on this plan here, but it is
I see it. Oh, okay, I see. And then there's some condos. Why Myrtle Drive? Do you, because you have a couple other options maybe?
He's not gonna use Myrtle Drive. No.
Yep, that is one of the comments that we received and will address. Is relocating all access for this project from Dominican Drive. Myrtle Drive is just the designation that the property has. Assessor's database.
And that was gonna be one of the questions for you too. I know that Richard talked to you about that and about something about the creation of the lots and how it was done.
Yes.
Is that going to be resolved with this?
Yes, yeah, that assessor's database question marks will all be resolved as part of this project. Initially, the reason it's a list of 5 lots is because they were the subject of a previous commercial subdivision. And the public improvements were never constructed, so the subdivision expired. They're still given separate assessor's cards, but they have one deed. And we've actually written a new property description that merges all of the parcels involved with this application. And that's intended to be filed before we record the site plans.
And you are also looking at doing that, not having the drive to that one smaller lot. Yeah, into there, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I had one more question for you, trying to think. We didn't receive any comments from Franklin, have you specifically?
We have not heard anything.
I have a question.
Yes.
You want to take a nap? Dominican Drive, are you gonna use that as is? Do you see, oh, okay, because Dominican Drive really isn't a drive. It's basically FedEx uses it as a parking lot.
Yes, it is. It is.
Is it gonna
amply wide?
Is it gonna do? Is it gonna be sufficient for you to lead into your driveway?
Yes.
It's gonna, FedEx is gonna change their use of it. They're gonna have to change their use of that.
It is a town road, or a city road.
So I'm very familiar with it.
Okay.
And Dominican Drive basically is the driveway into FedEx.
Yes, it is.
I never really thought of it as a drive to somewhere else. So it's not a wide opening, if you ask me. They get their small delivery trucks in there.
Yeah, I mean, we're continuing the paved width of 30 feet into our site, so we are matching that width, and you know, it is a town road and a town right of way.
Yeah.
That is our only frontage if we eliminate the Myrtle Drive access.
Yeah.
So if there's no further comments from the commission, I'll just. As Deanna mentioned, we did refer it to the town of Franklin as a drafting of my memo for this project. I haven't heard anything back. Anticipating hearings will be back before the Wetlands Commission now, meeting, which is on the 7th. Dave is a very thorough presenter here. He talked about the 20-foot wide natural vegetative buffer. We talked about the CEO's concern. Lots, that's sounds like it's going to be resolved for the filing of the site plan. We talked about the access should only occur from Dominican Drive. We're fine with that. Dave mentioned that they're not going to remove any material from the site. It's going to be even match. Just mentioned the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then we went through a staging process and showed you that sheet. They did submit a written waiver request regarding color renderings and elevations and elevation drawings of all proposed buildings and our buildings at this time. The Wetlands Commission will hear the related wetlands application at the December 7th regular meeting. It's my advice for you to table this application tonight until after they make their decision. They have submitted a bond estimate for $216,000. It's been deemed acceptable to the city engineer. The site is not located within a highly sensitive area for archaeological resources. However, we'd like a note, should any item that appears historical in nature be uncovered, that they contact our department before proceeding.
And if you don't mind interrupting, I can expound on that a little bit.
Absolutely.
As part of the preparation for filing with DEP, we submitted the project to the State Historic Preservation Office, and they requested an archaeological evaluation of our proposed work area. So we've completed that with a certified archaeologist, submitted their report to State Historic Preservation Office that they had no findings of archaeological or historical significance on the property. And we have a letter from SHPO agreeing with their finding, and I can submit those for the record.
Thank you. And that's all of my. Thank you for waiting.
Yeah. Oh, you're all that.
Thank you to you all too. I'm sure you're not happy to see me standing up here going on and on.
Wow, he was there last month at CCP and we didn't really do anything with it. And you came and we were like, oh, so.
All right, then we're going to, make a motion, entertain a motion to table.
Make a motion to the table.
No?
Oh, to the next meeting, to December 19th.
Yes.
19th, make a motion to table to the next meeting, December 19th.
I'll second that motion. This is Jason.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we're good, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank
You too.
Thank you. Right. What was that?
No more business, right?
You just have to approve the calendar for
Oh.
next year.
All right.
Aye.
So,
Pretty solid.
yes.
Sure.
So there is no extension request. We do have a couple other business things though. Right now is 2024 calendar adoption. We need to give it to the clerk's office. We did change a couple of dates. We're trying not to do them on Tuesdays where we have a holiday on a Monday. Cause it's just hard for us to staff, right? Like get our acts together, if it's a big period, we have, so sometimes that happens and they fall on Tuesday, so we're trying to flip it. It might affect you sometimes because
Well, I'm just gonna say, I don't feel sorry for you, because that's how my meetings are every single time.
well, it's, okay, well, you know, we said that we want.
And I have 11 things on my agenda, you saw my agenda.
Oh my God, so we have a few fourth Tuesdays, is out there,
Yep.
the fourth Tuesday of the month, and then they get into regular. So is there any questions about the calendar, or can we adopt the calendar?
Just know that I won't be able to be present on those that are on the fourth Tuesday.
Yeah. There's a couple of the beginning of the year are those fourth Tuesdays.
And everybody in favor of the calendar?
Make a motion to accept the calendar.
Yep.
Anybody want to second that?
I'll second that motion. It's Ella.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then we had executive session for pending litigation. We're not gonna go into that tonight or ask to go into that tonight because we don't have any updates for you on pending litigation right now.
All right, great.
No staff reports because it's late unless Dan has anything to say.
Absolutely have nothing to say.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I just want to know, why do you always put Jason's picture up there?
I don't, it's not me, just
It's not
switching between.
You're so handsome, that's why.
Jason, like on the
On this
screen,
screen, we're
oh yeah,
Yeah.
on your screen, we're big, we just see you as the big person on our
Oh.
screen.
Oh, man.
Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Ella, and you can second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I'd like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.